Aita for not inviting one girl to my daughter's birthday party. I, 35F, have an 8-year-old daughter who's turning 9 next month. She goes to a small school and there are only 6 other girls in her year. For her birthday, she's asked for a small sleepover party with just the girls from her class, which I'm happy to host at mine. Here's the issue, one of the girls in her year has been relentlessly bullying her for the past 6 months. She's flushed one of my daughter's toys down the toilet, regularly yells at her during break time, kicked her in the head, yes, really, and most recently threatened to kill her pets. My daughter has come home in tears multiple times, and I've spoken to the school, but not much has changed. Given all this, I told my daughter she absolutely doesn't have to invite this girl to her birthday. I don't want to teach her that politeness and keeping the peace should come at the cost of her own mental health and safety. I was bullied at school and couldn't escape it for the same reasons. If this were an adult friendship, I'd be telling her to cut the toxicity out of her life, and I don't think a birthday party should be an exception. Here's where I might be the asshole. My ex-husband, her dad, thinks we should invite the girl because it's the kind thing to do, and that we should be teaching her to include everyone. He says it's mean to invite all the other girls but exclude just one, and that we're teaching our daughter to be cold and unkind. I get that on the surface, excluding one kid might seem harsh, but does that still apply when the kid has made your child's life miserable? I don't want to be petty, but I also don't think my daughter should have to play host to someone who actively bullies her, just to avoid social awkwardness. So Reddit, Aita for not wanting to invite one girl to my daughter's party. Comments. Commenter 1. No fuck that the kid's a bully and your daughter should have to put up with it on her birthday and I wouldn't want that girl in my house. Commenter 2. Sounds like a good time for this bully to realize actions have consequences. When you torture another kid relentlessly, no, you're not invited to their birthday party. Commenter 3. It's called boundaries and making good choices. If the bully girl's mom wants to take it up with you why her kid wasn't invited, let it be that conversation that has needed to happen. Commenter 4. NTA, you don't invite bullies to parties. Life is not a Disney movie and it's not up to children to heal each other. Any issues that kid has are not yours to solve. Update. Well, as a first-time poster and long-time fan of this forum, that escalated quickly. I had to mute my notifications. I genuinely did not expect my original post to blow up the way it did. I thought maybe a handful of people might respond, but wow. The comments had me giggling, welling up, fist pumping, and more importantly, standing my ground. I read every single take, and I have to say, you showed up. The solidarity, the theories, no I do not know if he's sleeping with her mom, the sheer volume of support, better than therapy. No shade to therapists. The themes and perspectives shared were powerful. I feel like I'm not crazy and I've been listening to the wrong voices for too long. Here's the update you all deserve. No. I will not be inviting the bully to my daughter's party. The collective hive mind gave me the nerve and clarity to say, actually, no, we're not doing that, to my ex-husband today. I'm protecting my girl, full stop. No more second guessing. No more, maybe I'm overreacting. No more guilt. Just a clear, calm mama bear doing what's right. Being a parent is hard. Co-parenting with a man who has a history of belittling my voice is harder. But this thread gave me strength I didn't know I had. I won't forget it. I promise to update you all when my co-parent rears his face again. I'm sure it won't be long. From the bottom of my permanently scarred I'm doing the wrong thing little mum heart, thank you. Love from a very empowered mum who knows she did the right thing. Comments. Commenter 1. Oh, good for you. I was hoping you would end up sticking up for your daughter, and she will remember you defending her as the years go on. Commenter 2. Co-parenting with a man who has a history of belittling my voice. He's basically the bully's co-conspirator at this point. Stories number 2. My fiance, 25F, dumped me, 26M, on Tuesday. Today she tells me she wants the apartment to herself tomorrow for her Valentine's date. I'll try to keep this short because I'm so stunned I think I've stopped being able to process things. I've, 26M, been with my fiance, 25F, for 4 years. We've been engaged since last year and actively planning the wedding. Last month, we moved to a new city across the country because my fiance got an amazing job offer. I wasn't happy about it since I had to quit my job and all our family and friends were in the city we left. I was kind of a jerk during the moving process, but I've come around since getting here. My fiancé kept talking about this guy, late 20s maybe, she worked with at her new job, and it made me uneasy. I went to a few after-work events where he showed up, and he seemed like a total asshole. Very full of himself artistic type. I didn't like the way he interacted with my fiancé and we would occasionally fight about it. Tuesday night she got home really late, sat me down and broke up with me. She said she felt an immediate bond with this coworker that's stronger than anything she's ever felt before. This from the woman who just a few months ago I held in my arms while watching the stars, as she told me she's never felt more at peace than when she's beside me. I laid awake on the couch all night feeling like I was continually being punched in the stomach. I didn't fall asleep until 3 p.m. yesterday, and stayed asleep until this morning when she woke me up. Basically, she's having this asshole over for Valentine's Day and demanded she get the apartment to herself. Between the moves, all the deposits we had been putting for wedding stuff, and not having a job since we moved out here, I have literally no money for a hotel or anything else. We got into a big fight because I called her out and said she knew I had nowhere else to go. She said that's not her problem, she's done solving my problems for me, what, and that I needed to fix this one on my own. I guess his roommate is having a date over, so my fiance offered our place for her date with the asshole. She says this is happening no matter what I say, so yeah. What the hell am I supposed to do? TLDR, after uprooting me from my hometown a month ago, my fiance dumped me on Tuesday, and is now demanding the apartment to herself tomorrow for a date with this asshole artist from her new job. I have no money to do anything else. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Oh no. No 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 no. Hell no. You're going to park your ass on the couch tomorrow and you are going to refuse to move come hell or high water. Do not leave. What a heinous move on her part. Reply. I basically told her I would refuse to move tomorrow, but she said this man was coming over no matter what. Commenter 2. Well then. They're gonna have to deal with having a romantic date with another dude sitting on the couch then, aren't they? Reply. I can't emotionally handle seeing her date another man right in front of me in our home. I understand I would fucking up their night, but I think I'd shatter on the spot seeing them together. Why can't they go somewhere else? I asked why it had to be here. His roommate is using his place for a date. I asked why it couldn't be at a restaurant or a hotel or anywhere else, and then all she could do was talk about the ways I failed her in our relationship and that this time she wasn't going to fix things for me. Commenter 3. She is doing this intentionally. She has something to prove, to herself, to you, to the other guy, not sure, but it's about more than this date. I had to live with my ex for months due to being in a situation similar to yours. I started seeing other people but always went out. That's what any decent person would do. Don't cave. Have a party, as others have suggested. She doesn't deserve any satisfaction from this. Reply. This is so true, you should have seen her face as we got fighting over this. Edit. I appreciate everyone telling me I should stand my ground. I told my fiancé I wouldn't leave the apartment, but I don't think it's a threat I can carry through with. I will be emotionally devastated if I have to watch the woman I love and care for more than anyone else date someone right in front of me in my own home. Other suggestions would be appreciated. Edit 2. Thank you so much everyone for all your suggestions. I can't keep up with all the comments, it's almost overwhelming given everything that's going on in my life right now. I'm going to take a walk and try to clear my head. I just can't bring myself to tell my family and friends what's happened. It feels so embarrassing. I like the ideas about trying to reach a compromise. I have a lot to think about. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Don't go. Is your name on the lease? Fight this Grinch. If I knew where you lived I might come over and be your date, that's how much I think you should stand your ground. Reply. My name isn't on the lease since I didn't have a job when we moved out and my credit isn't the best. We thought it would be safer if she put her name on the lease since she's employed and has better credit. Commenter 2. Go home. Is there someone you can stay with there? If your name is not on the lease, get the fuck out and go NC. Reply. Plane tickets back home are insanely expensive, and it's money I just don't have right now. Commenter 3. Can you borrow the money from your parents? Surely they'll understand given that you're in dire straits. Reply. Honestly, I haven't been able to bring myself to tell them what's happened. I'm so ashamed and embarrassed about it. Update. I've, 27M, spent the last year working very hard to improve myself. Now that it's Valentine's Day again, I was thinking about what a dark place I was in last year. I didn't have the strength to post an update back then, but now that I've had some time to heal, I wanted to let everyone know how I'm doing. Thank you all to everyone who helped. You were the only support I had last year, and it meant the world. It looks like my original post was deleted. I can still see the text when I log in, so here is the old TLDR. After uprooting me from my hometown a month ago, my fiancé dumped me on Tuesday, and is now demanding the apartment to herself tomorrow for a date with this asshole artist from her new job. I have no money to do anything else. Part of the reason I didn't update afterward was because I was extremely embarrassed with how things turned out. It's only because of some intense therapy that I'm able to be honest and okay with telling this story. Basically, I decided to make one last big attempt at winning her, 26F, back. Right after we got engaged, my ex had a close relative succumb to a long-time illness. This relative was very happy that she lived long enough to see us get engaged. When my ex was a child, this relative had given my ex a charm that she wore all the time. A few months after the relative died, my ex lost the charm, and it was like the relative died a second time. As we packed up the apartment to move to the new city, I found the charm. Rather than give it back immediately, I decided that I would keep it in a safe place and surprise my ex with it at our wedding. I thought it would be a meaningful way to include this relative in a moment where she would be deeply missed. Somehow, I got in my head that if I showed her the charm on Valentine's Day, she'd remember everything that we shared and that I could cut through whatever fog she was caught up in. I was under the impression that my ex would come home after work by herself to get the place ready for her date. I was planning to use this alone time to give her the charm and either win her back, or lose decisively and leave before her date showed up. But instead, she showed up with the asshole from her job. That threw me through a loop big time, and it was incredibly awkward. He was patronizing. She became livid that I stole her charm. I struggled to articulate myself. It was the most embarrassed I've ever been. I got out of there and literally walked around all night until it got so cold I couldn't stand it anymore. I went back to the apartment building around 4 a.m., and in what was a personal low point, fell asleep in the hallway outside our apartment. But that was the low point. There have been high points since then. I was able to move back to my hometown, and my old employer gave me my old job back. I even met someone else and we dated for a while. We just broke up though. It sucks to be alone again on Valentine's Day, but I've learned it's okay to be sad every once in a while. And compared to last year, this year is practically a celebration. Therapy gave me a wonder perspective on life and some great coping skills for when times get difficult. As for my ex, I heard she married the asshole guy from work. Her sister would text me occasionally, and apparently her family hates the guy. Whatever, it's not my problem anymore. Lastly, I want to thank everyone on Reddit, sincerely. People offered to buy me a ticket home. Other people offered to hang out with me if we happened to be in the same city. Some people even offered just to Skype with me so I could have someone to talk with. Even though I didn't respond, your messages meant so much to me. Thank you. TLDR, I tried to win my ex back, it ended terribly. My life is mostly back to normal again. Stories number 3. Aita for breaking my number 1 sex rule with a handicapped guy. So TLDR for the give me the bare bones, I don't have all day to read on the shitter crew. My one sex rule since high school has been no sex before the third date. I recently broke that rule with a handicapped guy, and now my childhood best friend is pissed and grossed out because she thinks I have some weird kind of fetish. I'm a 28F. My childhood best friend we'll call Jess is also 28F. To put it simply, I don't think I'm any kind of prude, I just don't really feel comfortable with casual sex, never have. My best friend knows this and has teased me about it lightly in the past. She's been in a long-term relationship for the last 3 years, I've mostly been single while working on my degree and starting my career. Jess lives in another state with her boyfriend, so we don't hang out much anymore. So about a month ago I had a first date with a guy I'd been talking to for a bit, thought it was going places, but he gave a weird vibe on the date and I cut and ran early. On my way home I stopped at a local pub, figured I'd have a drink to unwind and people watch till it wore off. Tipsy driving is still drunk driving IMO. I get there and it's pretty packed, Friday night and all, and there was no seating room at the bar. Took my drink and looked around, most of the restaurant side of the pub was someone's birthday party, but there was a small table with a seat open off to the side, with a guy reading a book there. So I say EFF it, I'm a social person and what's the worst thing that happens, he says no. So I ask if I can sit there for a bit, I promise we don't have to talk or anything. At this point I feel like I fucked up because this guy up close is the hottest man I have ever seen. But he just smiled at me and gave an enthusiastic, sure. A few minutes later of me sipping in silence and he says, I don't mind talking, if you want to. Yeah I want to. Are you kidding me right now? We talk for a bit and it turns out Mike, fake name, is 29, just finished his master's degree in some kind of computer learning field, I program computers to program computers, and he's living on his own for the first time. He apparently stops by the pub after work because he's right around the corner, and he's not used to the silence yet after living so long with a half-dozen siblings. We talked for a good 2 hours, about everything from dating, which he said he's basically given up on, to hobbies and tastes, and we have a near total eclipse of a Venn diagram on this stuff. I eventually sort of blurted out that I don't know why he'd give up on dating, this is the closest thing I've had to a good date in forever. Shooting my shot obliquely here LOL. He gets kind of an odd look on his face and says, tell you what, I have to go to the bathroom, but when I come back I'll ask you out for real. Weird, but okay, then it all clicks, because he doesn't get up to walk away, he just rolls. In his wheelchair. And I'm thinking, oh my god, he wanted to give me a chance to back out of this without making it awkward. How cute can this guy be? He grinned like crazy when he got back and saw I was still there, and I basically tripped over myself saying something to the effect of, "So I'm free all weekend, what did you have in mind?" Another hour later, we've got plans for Saturday, and he told me he has a neuromuscular disorder I can't remember the name of, my degree isn't in STEM lol, so his legs work, but the signals from his brain get misinterpreted so he doesn't have the balance or coordination for walking or standing. The pub starts switching over to the younger rowdier crowd and he asks if I'd like to go back to his place for coffee to continue our conversation. As you have probably long since realized, I did not get any coffee or conversation till the next morning and I have zero regrets. We've been dating since and I know it's still early but I really feel like this might be the one. Onward to yesterday afternoon, my friend Jess, remember Jess, is in town, and we go out for coffee to catch up on things. I'm gushing about Mike, but when I get to how we met she just sort of got weird and edgy. I don't remember any exact words but she essentially said that I must have a fetish for the handicapped since I broke my one rule and it's the best physical relationship I've ever been in. Like it's good for me because he uses a wheelchair, not because the guy puts in effort in bed. She said I've changed as a person and left without even saying goodbye. 15 years of friendship and I've never seen her like that. So here I am, asking the most objective people online, if I'm an asshole or weird for being super attracted to a guy who uses a wheelchair and basically putting out immediately. Update, 2 days later. My first ever update. Yay. So if you were hoping for some terrible drama, I hate to break it to you that I don't roll like that. No pun intended. So I do have an update on Jess and shit finally makes perfect sense. And I have a slightly NSFW but funny story about Mike, because this guy is just the best, y'all. Okay, so first, I finally messaged Jess yesterday and said basically, I'm still hurt by what you said, but after 15 years of friendship I'd never forgive Must if I didn't at least ask why you snapped at me like that. She replied immediately, I'm so fucking sorry, I didn't mean any of that, can we have a do-over on lunch? So I agreed cautiously and took a half day to meet with her today. Turns out that those of you who said she was jealous, and that she might have something else going on, and especially the person who said something might be going on in her relationship. Gold stars. She's in town because she's job hunting, because she's moving back in with her parents for a while since her relationship ended. Apparently they have been having a ton of small problems adding up, but the biggest one? Sex. The guy she's been with was apparently never great but it's gotten to the point where he makes no effort at all for her to enjoy herself and then gets pissed when she isn't in the mood. She tried talking with him about it, making suggestions but he told her recently that it's emasculating being given sex advice by a woman. The straw that broke the metaphorical camel's back, however, was that her boyfriend has always had a thing for Asian women. She's Caucasian, but she does have long black hair. After weeks of fighting over their sex life, he suggested that they spice things up, by her dressing in a kimono and pretending to be Asian. She lost it on him and is absolutely disgusted by the racist fetishism and ended it right then. So she had all of this bottled up and was hoping to talk to me and finally be able to put it down. And I missed every hint that she had something big to discuss because I was gushing about Mike. So to her it felt like I was just twisting the knife by bragging about how great our sex was. She snapped, and somewhere between what I was saying and what she wanted to talk about some wires got crossed and she said something incredibly dumb. She left without saying goodbye because she was mortified and ashamed as well as irrationally mad at me. Something to know about Jess, she's an awful liar and she and I were the co-founders of our high school's Foot and Mouth Society, so I do believe her. I told her I forgive her and I'm sorry I didn't realize she wanted to talk about something bothering her, and she said I was too stupidly nice and have nothing to apologize for, so I think we'll be okay. For the time being I'm not ready for her and Mike to meet, because I don't want to make things feel worse, and she agrees. But she's really happy for me. Hopefully this is just a funny story we can look back on someday. So, on to how Mike almost killed me, lol. Last night we were talking about the Reddit post and he gets this funny expression that I'm starting to recognize. And he goes, how do we know you don't have a fetish if we haven't at least tried it in the chair? And I'm like, are you serious lol? He said he's never attempted it, because, cue tears, he's never felt so comfortable with a partner before. Well, his chair has what is essentially like a parking brake thing. Or it should, it's unfortunately broken and apparently getting them fixed is an expensive pain in the ass. He doesn't use it that often so he hasn't made it a priority. And there's this thing called Newton's third law, you know how every action has an equal and opposite reaction? As it happens, when you're trying to, get the motion of the ocean going, in a chair with wheels that aren't locked, there's a sort of counter motion that starts and fucks it all up. So we were going nowhere fast except for inching along the floor in his bedroom. And laughing at the silliness, which isn't helping. Eventually he just stops and says, maybe we can get some of those wooden block things they use to keep little planes from rolling away, like in Indiana Jones, you know. I absolutely lost it. Like laughing so hard I'm in tears, he's giggling half at the situation and half at my reaction, and everything just keeps setting me off again. Finally I get it under control, doing some deep breathing exercises and shit, and I look at him again. And he pulls the straightest face he can, and says, for the love of God, golly. This sure is uncomfortable. Folks, if I had asthma I would have fucking died right there. I laughed so hard I think I pulled a rib. Like wheezing and not even laughing anymore so much as weeping and making this awful noise when I could catch my breath. While he's laughing and rubbing my back and saying he's sorry, he couldn't resist. So yeah, confirmed, no fetish here, and this magnificent bastard's comedic timing might actually kill me. Update. So first up, you know what people, at least me, don't think about when dating a guy who's always sitting? Height. I know he's taller than me because we cuddle a lot, and he's taller sitting on the couch, but I didn't really get it. So we drive up Friday night after work, actually south and west, lol, but to my brain it's always up, in his vehicle, which is modified to be driven entirely using his hands. Neat, right? He's a really good driver too. One more green flag. We get to the house, and it's huge, you guys, lol, like not a mansion, just kind of a sprawling one-floor rancher. Real estate was wild back in the day. Anyway, we get out, and I meet his mom. I'd like to point out I am no slouch, I'm 5'7". His mom is towering over me. But she was the nicest lady ever. We go inside and I meet his dad, who funny enough is apparently the only short one in this family, and his youngest sister, who is living there with his 1-year-old niece. She gets up to hug me and she is also really tall. It's already a bit late then, so we eat and head to bed. I get to see his cute as shit room from when he was a teenager, and I casually ask, hey, so, I don't know how this works and stuff, but how tall are you? And Mike is all, I dunno, like a bit over 6 feet 4 inches. Been a while since I checked. A bit over 6 feet 4 inches. So, is everyone in your family tall, kinda? We met the Nordic basketball team he calls a family properly the next day. Actually they're Irish, but they're blonde and tall so it conveys the idea better. The only one of reasonable height, and still taller than me, was his oldest sister, lol. They are also loud. Like not really shouting or anything usually, just, present. Mike is a lot different around them, but in the cutest way, like he just beams all the time and you can see how happy he is to be home. One of his brothers put him in a headlock and gave him a dang noogie as a greeting, and got elbowed in the side for it, and all of them laughing. And his mom smacked one of his brothers with a rolled-up magazine for putting his feet on the table. More laughing. Just, intimidating but in the happiest way imaginable. I'll admit I was a little shut down for a bit, but Mike kept checking in with me to make sure I was okay, and they were all really nice, so I got into the spirit after a bit. I mentioned this in another comment, but Mike has a special sports wheelchair he uses for, well, sports. And he and his siblings play basketball. And he is good. Apart from just having a hell of an arm, he's quick as hell. And this magnificent bastard that I love will absolutely, purposefully, gleefully run someone's toes over. He AMS for it. They all have this yank back the foot maneuver that's hysterical to watch. So it was this crazy day of loud people playing and having a blast, nieces and nephews running around, and just noise. My ears are still ringing. The food was catered in advance because his mom had 7 babies. All I make on Mother's Day is margaritas. They also have a pool. It's a bit chilly still but the pool is heated so we actually all got to swim, which was a lot of fun because I got to show off that I too am athletic. I can do a backward somersault off a diving board. Yeah. I'm a real catch lol. They at least pretended to be impressed. We all stayed up late drinking and bitching that it was too overcast to see the aurora, boo, and I had the worst hangover I've had in a while on Sunday. We slept in a bit late, and then joined Mike's family for the barbecue part of the barbecue weekend. His dad can grill, people. And he's fast, food coming off the grill at lightning speed. I asked Mike about it and he laughed and said, there was 7 of us to feed. Ever see a nest of baby birds? He had practice. Which, fair enough. I don't have much experience with babies, but I got to hold his youngest niece, the one living at home with his sis until her husband gets back from deployment, and we had a light talk about kids in the future. I told him that I never put much thought into it but if they were going to grow up in a happy home like his and not how I grew up, I'm pretty sure I'd be open to having them with him someday. But later. I need him all to myself for a while first. He seemed really happy about that, which makes me feel all goofy and happy. I'm sappy. We had to drive home Sunday night, but before we went his mom hugged me and said she's never seen her son like this, and thanked me for taking good care of her baby. And asked if we'd be back for the 4th of July or if we were doing something with my family. And I tried to be all, no, we'll be here if you don't mind, I don't see them much, and I think she caught on that there's more to the story, so she just hugged the shit out of me, Vikings, all of them I swear, and told me she can't wait to see me again. My ears are still ringing from all the noise and chaos, but it was an absolute blast and I can't wait to see them again in July. Also, pretty much sure Mike is the man I'm going to marry. I literally can't think of a single reason why I would ever let him get away. Anyway, thanks for reading, hope you all had a lovely weekend, and those of you who got to see the aurora, I'm happy for you, but you suck, lol. Update. No, we aren't engaged yet. Yes, we have talked about it in the context of how seriously we are taking things. No babies yet either, obviously, we are diligent about birth control. I want Mike all to myself for a while, so, the 4th of July visit to his family's house was pretty awesome. After getting to know everyone last time, I had better expectations of what I was going into, and I've talked with my therapist about the whole play fighting makes me anxious because in my childhood home it wasn't playing thing. I don't want them to ever curb how they act to cater to me, and instead I guess I'll consider it immersion therapy. I think Mike mentioned it anyway because I didn't see much of it this time, though there were cheerful threats of doom lobbed about which I didn't mind at all. His mom is amazing, I'd like to point out. Even if she moms so hard it makes me weepy. So, background info, I have a really common sounding name spelled really uncommonly. Think Danielle or Jessica. Because in addition to everything else my parents decided to be creative when they named me. So, although I do sort of like my name, that meant I was that kid who never saw their name personalized on anything. Mike's family, on the other hand, had like a million kids and they all got traditional names, so personalized stuff was huge for them, it kept them from fighting over stuff I guess. One of the things in their house, because they have a pool, is that each of the kids, adults now, has their own personalized beach towel that lives at the house. So we get to their place and it's been a hot drive there, so right after we get in Mike suggests I go to his room to get changed into a swimsuit so we can have a dip in the pool. I'm thinking that sounds perfect, right? Some of you may already know where this is going. I get to his room and there is a towel on the bed. In my favorite color. With my fucking stupid ass spelled name embroidered into it. So here I am crying over a goddamn towel and he's in the doorway watching and grinning like he just pranked me or some shit. Turns out it was her idea, but she checked with Mike to make sure it was spelled right. So now I have a towel for when we visit because apparently I'm welcome. If I sound cranky it's just because I'm better at self-depreciation than I am expressing emotions in a direct way. I really am blown away and touched by how much these people have welcomed me. Mike has already sort of learned to decode the way I talk and joke, which is nice, but the first time he gently said, "That's not humor, that's just putting yourself down, babe," I definitely wanted to go hide under the table. He doesn't let me be mean to me. That's a thing good partners do, I guess. I wouldn't know. Again, yes, I am in therapy, I am working on myself, it's not his responsibility to put me back together, it's just something he does naturally. I literally told him one night that I was sorry I'm kind of broken, and he snorted and said, "At least you can walk," in the most disgusted voice ever and made me laugh. I digress. So the food was once again amazing, and I kept my promise to teach his mom how to make my cinnamon bun bread pudding, so I felt like I contributed. Insert Ralph Wiggum, I'm helping, meme. I learned to play Yahtzee, and as it turns out I am very good at it. They do a lot of board games things at night when everyone is staying for the week. These people have a lot of board games. And puzzles. Whole damn storage closet of the things. They also drink like fucking fish and can hold it, so I am learning to pace myself. Mike doesn't drink much when we aren't there, so I'm not worried that it's a red flag. Only red flag of his that I've found was a red socks pennant in his room. Now I realize I might be talking him up a lot, but he isn't perfect. He snores, he has a habit of arguing with people on the TV when they make stupid decisions, he sometimes starts talking about things I don't understand and just goes and goes until he realizes he lost me like 15 minutes ago, and he is fastidiously tidy, which makes me feel guilty because I have bad habits to lose. I'm not used to, clutter means I can't move through an area, but I'm really trying. I barely spend any time at my own place anymore, and we're definitely looking to move in together sooner than later. Yeah, so, not that much of an update, no one burned themselves on a firework or anything super exciting, I'm just in an ongoing relationship with a great guy who has a great family and things continue to look up for us. We head home tonight so we can spend some alone time Sunday. Hope everyone else had a safe and happy holiday. Update. I debated just posting this on my own page, but shit, like a lot of people keep asking for more, so I guess it doesn't hurt to drop my post between Aita for literally killing someone and Aita for meekly accepting my in-laws' cruelty but asking if I may wash my wounds before they flog me again. This is not an exciting update. Not engaged. No babies on the way, not even freakishly tall ones like some of you are hexing me with. But Jess finally met Mike. TLDR, learning to read long posts is good for your attention span. Sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry, I feel compelled to open with a joke and I don't know why. Anyway, real TLDR, she thinks he's amazing, she thinks it is hysterical that I'm on TikTok, I refuse to download it, and she is doing amazing. And our lives are moving forward together. Jess and I have this friend, who I will call Meg and not Tallulah despite both Jess and Mike thinking would be hilarious. Meg was planning to have a birthday party, the big 30H, and she and Jess are close, and both presently single. They chose a local bar with outside seating, and Jess did a wait, let's check their accessibility, because I have been bitching to her for the last month and lol and be fucking hold after calling the place, they didn't have a ramp for the balcony outside seating area. As I have been told, Jess said, nope, I am meeting Mr. Thrower, Jess come on, and so they found another place that's a damn hike from everyone. But it has a great outside area with accessibility. And then we got the invite. Through Facebook because we are all basic, I guess. And Mike was stoked because they have this awesome beer selection, full stop, I hate hops so. Then Meg told us that, no, I am not using Tallulah for the 15% of you going, oh but that was such a better name, they chose it because Jess wanted Mike to feel welcome. So hats off to Jess for making the comeback impression of the century, I guess. The birthday was fun, and silly, and everyone in my immediate friend group met Mike and loved him. Tons of laughter, everyone drank way too much, but fortunately we had enough heads up for a planned motel stay. Why yes, I do own a UV flashlight, why do you ask? So we and a bunch of other people didn't drive home. We actually had brunch in the bar the next day, it was absolutely awesome and I am ruined for pancakes because fluffy. Once again, I digress. Jess and Mike hit it off and she told him literally every story. I didn't want her to over brunch, and it all was great apart from the persistent hangover. I crashed at Mike's again. And then he asked what it would cost to break my lease, because he hates the mornings he wakes up and I'm not there. So the next upcoming week and a half or so is going to be insane while I pack up my whole damn life and shove half into a storage unit and the other half into his apartment, and then we'll be living together. I know it's too soon. He does too. We've decided we're idiots and just going for it. My landlord is a lady who is a bit on the older side and isn't charging me for breaking the lease as long as I leave the place ready for a new renter, so I may respond to comments for a bit right away but expect a lot of silence for a while after. True TLDR. Best friend made a good second impression, and I'm moving in with Mike ahead of schedule. I should be worried but I'm actually just really excited. Wish me luck. Update, dating a disabled guy, and this headline gets more and more awkward, so probably, dating Mike with the wheels, from now on. Hey. I get a lot of messages asking how things are going, but I kinda hate when people update every 5 minutes with the, my neighbor looked at me sideways, updates after 3 paragraphs of recapping drama. So for those not invested, still with Mike. He's amazing. I will marry him, we live together now. It's been trying. As in he is trying not to laugh at how inept I am at cohabitation. I am really good at not leaving stuff out, now, so there's improvement. He doesn't infantilize, oh Reddit big brain word, me at all, but he definitely gives me the grace to an absolute idiot. I appreciate it. We are not engaged, guys, it's been half a year, come on, I'm writing a book about our relationship. It starts with, my name is, and the rest is just notes. Don't hold your breath. Jess moved into my old apartment. Yes, my former landlord is the goat. Jess is also seeing a guy. I think it is too soon. She agrees. But she has reasons, girl, we all have needs, and who am I to judge? And I was recently in kind of a serious car accident. I am fine, I have great health insurance, great car insurance, and am recovering just fine. No GoFunds here, though if you want to help just find a reputable charity for helping victims of drunk drivers and give them your money. So I was on my way home from working overtime and some dude clipped my car and I ended up in a ditch while he just sort of spun out. But I wear my seatbelt because I have a brain and I got really, really lucky. Everything is fine, my medical deductible was already paid up for the year, and the worst I had was some bruises, a cracked femur fibula, whiplash, and a totaled car. The silver lining is that Mike is great at caretaking. Another check mark in the having kids category. Also his mom brought us like a million homemade frozen dinners in Costco serving trays and we had nowhere to put them, so she bought us a fucking chest freezer. I don't even know with this family. They are amazing. I know usually I give some sweet, heartwarming updates while bitching about mental health, but I am pretty well medicated until my leg heals and I have a few weeks off work to cuddle Mike while watching bad sci-fi, so I'm not in the best place to fill your cups. Sorry. Also don't watch Another Life on Netflix unless you have the ability to set your brain aside because it is the least consistent show I have ever seen. I mean I loved it, especially the spine ripping itself out of a person and trying to walk away. Oh my god, but it requires suspension of disbelief like few things I have encountered in all my years. Also Mike says hi. He indulges me. Have a good autumn and please for the love of heck don't drive drunk. And don't expect anything from me unless the Thanksgiving gathering is as epic as they claim. Ahahaha, I almost slipped and said his last name. No doxing for you today, because Reddit is probably already over my shit. As always, love you guys for all the support. I'm okay, relationship is fab, and please don't drink and drive. Edit, I don't have a cracked femur. Jesus crackers, these meds are something. I have a fractured fibula, lower leg, outside bone, and it didn't break all the way through. I have no idea how I mixed those two up. Mike says at least I'm cute when I'm high, but he is clearly biased. So yeah. Cracked fibula, little leg bone, short-ish, healing time. Not femur, thank fuck. Update, dating Mike with the wheels, belated Thanksgiving and Christmas updates, 2.5 months later. I had a Thanksgiving post in my notes almost fully written when unfortunately I got the call. I've mentioned before that I had kind of a rough upbringing and have been estranged from my parents for a few years, but they were still my parents, you know. So anyhow my mother passed away the day after Thanksgiving. Natural causes, she just neglected her health in general. I hadn't talked to her since a half-hearted attempt last Christmas. She didn't even know about Mike. And I don't know if I even feel sad, exactly, but it knocked me for a loop, and writing about how great Mike's family is left a bad taste in my mouth. My therapist says I, paraphrasing here, already mourned the loss of the good parts of my mom when I started processing the bad parts, so my reaction isn't abnormal. For once. But it wasn't the easiest time, and then the funeral meant a whole lot of people I never wanted to see again. Mike was a godsend. He's so charismatic and charming that no one had anything bad to say to me. It was more like a room of acquaintances. I'm so glad we moved in together. I don't know how I would have gotten through it and then gone home alone. So I'm going to do this a little out of order. Mike and I spent the whole Christmas week with his parents again, and they were very sympathetic and understanding in the "we respect that you don't want us to make a big deal" way. Most of his family wasn't there except for dinner the day after Christmas. Just wait till the Thanksgiving recap and you'll understand why Christmas is so low-key. No one could handle that twice in 2 months. So it was nice to wake up and feel like family and open presents in my pajamas. Mike and I have matching Christmas ones now. We are ridiculous together, and I love it. Also, it was a white Christmas for the first time in years. To those hoping for a proposal, I did get jewelry. But not a ring. Sorry. Believe me, it's on the table and where we feel we are headed, but we're not rushing things. Also, given everything going on, it wouldn't have been the right time. But I got a lovely pendant with my birthstone and real diamonds, so I was very spoiled. Christmas dinner was good and catered, and a lot of chaos and kids and presents, and I missed most of it because I had a pretty bad headache and it was just a lot at once. But I was there for pictures, and everyone kind of accepts that I'm the future wife even without a ring, so I feel nice and included. Sorry that this update is on a bit of a downer note. I know I don't really sound like my usual upbeat self, but I'll get back there once the holidays, seasonal depression, and stuff is behind me. That's why I saved my Thanksgiving post for the end, to hopefully go out on a high note. The Thanksgiving recap. Hi all. I get a lot of requests for updates, so I thought I'd share how things are going, now that Gluttony Day is behind us. Mike and I are happily cohabitating still. Things are well on most fronts. I had a minor car accident a little while ago. I posted on my page about it, but I'm mostly healed up now. Mike's family is still the absolute best, and honestly his mom is more motherly than mine has ever been. Sucks, but it is what it is. See? That line right there, ouch. I've been warned that Thanksgiving is sort of their big holiday, since a lot of the family spends time elsewhere on Christmas. And that it's a bit of a spectacle. But Lord Almighty, I was not prepared for this shit. So, things you need to know, there is some weird battle of the sexes thing they do. A few years ago Mike's mom pointed out that the family kept getting bigger and it was harder to make enough turkey for everyone. So the kids got together, and everyone takes credit for the idea, and bought their dad one of those turkey deep fryers for Christmas. So Thanksgiving rolls around again. I so wish I'd met Mike sooner to see it myself, and thanks to the combination of beer and, I'm sure we can figure this out, apparently their dad set fire to the lawn. At least no one was hurt, apart from pride. But after that there was sober practice, and now mom's turkey versus dad's turkey is this whole thing. Like there is literally shit talk the whole day. People are set up into camps. I joked we needed team shirts and I think they actually want to do that next year. It was all pretty hilarious and casual, and they had like 3 damn tables set up. Don't worry, Reddit. I made sure no teenagers were being parentified or unliked in-laws were being forced to sit at the kids' table. Actually I was low-key jealous, they got crayons and coloring books. The food was all amazing and all hands on deck except for me because his mom refused to have me on my feet even though my leg is basically fine now. Mike kept bringing me stuff, it was so cute y'all. I can't even put into words how much golden retriever energy this boy has. If you're wondering who made the better turkey. Ooh man it's hard. Mike's mom does a brine, Alton Brown is the goat, but there is something about fried turkey skin that is just next level. So I'd say it's a tie, and that's not just me being diplomatic. I ate so much that I barely had room for dessert. It was fantastic. I never fall asleep in the car, but I was passed out on the drive home. We had kind of a second Thanksgiving at home the next day from the leftovers, and I probably just put on 50 pounds. No regrets. Anyway I'm off to sleep the bird off. I hope you all had a wonderful turkey day and a great Christmas coming up. New update. Hello once again, Reddit friends. Sorry to anyone who saw my mini update and felt cheated of the story. Things have been crazy busy since the start of the year. TLDR for those who say, I ain't reading all that, like you have anything better to do on the shitter Mike proposed. I am officially slated to be Mrs. Mike with the wheels sometime in the next year or so. I will absolutely give you the deets, but, first a little on why I haven't updated or responded much lately. I absolutely love the comments, well wishes, and private messages telling me how much our story has moved them. I can't believe how many strangers I feel so close to because you've gone through similar tough or lonely childhoods, or have had in-laws that aren't amazing. I don't usually respond, shockingly, this isn't my regular Reddit account, but I read them and appreciate you. On the other side, I've gotten some toxicity too, though fortunately not nearly as much as you might expect with the internet these days. A lot of people ask for pictures and stuff, and I'm sorry but that's not happening. I've already given enough details and this has spread far enough that someone doxed me, they were nice enough, and young, and didn't realize just how absolutely weird and invasive that was, but it definitely made me step back a little. I don't mind sharing updates into our life when there's something to talk about, but I'm still a real person with a real life and I don't want to be some kind of influencer or whatever. You also won't see any kind of GoFundMe or panhandling, I'm not broke, student loans are being paid down, and Mike is rocking his career too. We have enough to be comfortable. If you want to contribute in some positive way to our lives, I recommend making a donation to the Wheelchair Foundation. They do great work and not every family is like Mike's and could afford a good chair when he was a kid. And please don't dox me, it's already weird enough having Jess laughing at me while playing a TikTok of someone reading my writing. So, back to the mushy crap. Mike and I have been pretty upfront about the idea that we both want marriage and think this is the real deal, but aside from that, there wasn't a timeline. Our anniversary was on a different day of the week, and we did take out, but the next Saturday he suggested we go to the same bar we met at and recreate our first date. I thought it was the cutest idea for a date night. Yes, I am an idiot. He brought a book and everything. So, things are stupidly cute, and I'm feeling silly and giddy. And then he tells me about this book he's reading, would I like to see? And I'm like, of course. The cover wasn't important. What was? This boy ordered some Etsy-made hollow book. And there it is, the ring and, will you marry me, on the inside cover. Y'all the way I went from bubbly to sobbing. I had no idea it would hit me like that, I guess even with talking about it somehow I just didn't expect it. He came over and called me sappy and I babbled something about, yes obviously, and so now there's a ring on my left hand. We don't have a date set, but I'm thinking something in the fall, probably. Your girl here gonna get a white dress and everything. If you're wondering, remember back when this was about her? Jess screamed when I told her and asked if she can wear a suit and give me away, and while hilarious, probably not. It would be funny though. She's doing good though, living at my old place actually, and staying single while she gets her head back in the best shape possible. So yeah, there it is, he asked, I said yes, and I will be Mrs. Wheel sometime in the next year or so. Thanks for all the well wishes and support and love, you have all made my lonely little world brighter the same way Mike has. Stories number 4. I ruined my parents' relationship over reading mail. I, 24F, don't want to say what I do for work, but let's just say it's the type of job that includes a lot of written letters from clients that are supposed to be confidential and only for my eyes. I'm fresh out of college and living with my parents so I can finish paying off for school. My work letters of course go to my parents' address since they live miles away from a post office and driving to a P.O. box is a huge pain. The issue started with my father. Ever since high school when I received mail my dad would open it. Whenever I received Christmas birthday cards in the mail with money in them, my dad would hand me the card and insist he'll keep the money safe for me until I demanded he hand it over. Any package I would order for myself he would open and hand to me, sometimes the products were used by him as well. The final straw was when he received my acceptance letter to my dream college and instead of waiting for me to come home to open it, he opened it himself and called me while I was at work to congratulate me. I've spoken to my mother about how much this makes me feel uncomfortable and she told me she'd speak to my father about it, to which he would apologize and not do it for a week before doing it again the next week. I had also spoken to my dad about the confidentiality of the mail I would be receiving now that I'm working and he says he understands but it all came crashing down a few weeks ago. While I was working my dad came into my room and handed me opened envelopes from my clients and even tried to have a conversation about it with me but I just ignored him until he got the hint and left. After work I yelled at him for violating client confidentiality to which he got defensive and said that I live in his house and any mail sent to his house would be read by him. Furious, that next week I thought I would take revenge on my father by going to the mailbox and reading his mail. But what I found was what ended my relationship with him. I had found credit card statements on jewelry and restaurants that were too fancy for my dad to go to alone and I don't remember the last time my dad took my mom on a date nor bought her any jewelry. I also found a letter addressed to my dad from a woman who stated how tired she was for hiding this relationship for so long and how she is so desperate for his letters to reach her. When my dad noticed the mailbox was empty, my dad ran back in the house as white as a host. He walked into the kitchen to see me and my mom in the kitchen reading his mail. Before the fighting could start, my mom asked me to leave the house. So I drove to my aunt's who lives 45 minutes away and explained everything. I came back after 2 days when my dad's stuff was gone. My mom told me my dad's living in a hotel and she will be in contact with a divorce attorney. Turns out my dad has been having an affair with a family friend and we're hiding it through letters. Oh, leave no digital footprint. My dad ended up showing my mom the stash of letters he had and she took photos of each and every single letter before she asked him to leave. I feel at fault because I at first wanted to be petty with my dad but it unraveled into this huge event and made me think, oh wonder he's been looking through my shit. He was giving himself away. I feel like I shattered my mom's world since I can hear her cry every night about it since the incident. First update, thank you all so much. I wrote this all out last night drunk off my mind and I never expected this much kindness from strangers. I'll go ahead and answer a few questions here and then give an update. Was my dad using my money from the gifts to buy stuff for his mistress? I'm 50-50 on this answer. I received cards when I was young with money and it was the same routine. Aunts and uncles would leave $100 per card and my dad always gave them to me when I was younger. As I got older obviously the money reduced to $20 to $40. I do believe my dad would give me back half my money in those cards back, which would make sense as to how he was able to make such huge expenses on his mistress. I need to collect proper evidence so I plan on calling my aunts and uncles and other relatives who would send me money. The mistress would send letters addressed as a business or a credit card company. If you ask me they were doing the most. When my mom would check the mail she would see the letters that were addressed to my dad as bills or some crazy BS and never open them because she doesn't handle the bills. A lot of packages were sent by the mistress as well, which is why he went through my packages and I don't want to imagine what kind of crap she was mailing him. Now for the update. Like I said before, it's been a few weeks since it happened. I've been doing my best to comfort my mother while she deals with all the legal business and my dad's constant appeals to my mom to apologize and begged for forgiveness. I've been here to listen to her and she keeps spiraling between wanting to forgive him and cursing him to hell. I told her my own personal opinion, which was to never take back a cheater. She did basically everything for him and she shouldn't see it as her not being enough for him, that's his fault for not appreciating her. The mistress also was a married woman. My mom reached out to her husband sending him the letters she had taken photos of, even had a long phone call with him about what was going on. He initiated the divorce and the mistress is now angry at my father for not being more careful. The mistress's ex-husband, who I'll call Henry, has been a best friend of my mom's throughout the legal cases. I hear the mistress is still reaching out to forgive him, which I honestly think is very funny since my dad is doing the same thing. She was financially dependent on Henry and my dad isn't making enough at his job to support the lifestyle she wants. Yesterday Henry asked my mom to come out to lunch with him. They've been sad shut-ins for the past few days and they agreed to go and get some fresh air. I encouraged my mom to do such and to call me if my dad or the mistress decide to show face when they went, just so I could pick her up. My dad hasn't apologized to me at all about reading my mail. In fact, he's called me and left me voicemails telling me that this whole situation was my fault, then going and crying saying he regrets everything and he hopes he can still be my dad. I honestly don't know what to do with him right now other than ignore him. I don't know if there will be another update, but I will if something major happens. Again, thank you so much for the supportive comments, and I hope some of what I said clears things up for you all. Second update. I ruined my parents' relationship over reading some mail. Hi guys, it's been a full year since it happened and I wanted to update you guys. A few months after the post, my mom grabbed me and my younger sister, 20F, Rachel, to talk about her interest in possibly going on a date with Henry. Obviously we were thrilled. They've been dating for almost a year now and I'm happy for them. Henry treats my mother with way more respect than what my father ever did for her. She glows with joy whenever he's around. Our biological father was putting more mental strain on her than we thought. She went from being a shy, soft-spoken person, to a strong, confident woman, and I couldn't be happier. As for our father, Jerry, and his mistress, Martha, they got married immediately after my mother, I'll call her Reagan, and Henry. I didn't speak to Jerry other than the occasional text from him asking about how I was doing or to ask me for some cash. After they got married, neither if their families support the marriage, they got black sheeped respectfully. They tried to sue for cash, but the case fell through in Reagan and Henry's favor. I stopped talking to him fully when he spent a month harassing my sister for cash. Calling her repeatedly, texting her, showing up at her college, to the point where the dean had to get him escorted off the campus. That's when Mom got us a harassment protection order. So now Jerry can only contact us when he wanted to meet with us, which was rare, or for medical emergency. My sister and I haven't heard from him since. That didn't stop Martha though. Turns out the reason my dad was hounding for cash was because he got her pregnant. She wants expensive everything and Jerry is pulling everything out of his butt to satisfy her. Martha ended up being the one harassing my sister until she ended up at our door demanding to speak to Henry about how he left a poor pregnant lady with nothing. Henry is a man that takes no bullshit. He opened the door, looked Martha dead in the eyes and told her, was it not cruel to cheat on your husband when he provided you with a mansion, designer bags, nice cars, trips, and all the love in the world? You have no right to call me cruel after everything you've used me for, and you're lucky I didn't demand any money back. He shut the door and Martha ended up throwing a huge fit, even faked her water breaking with a water bottle. Police escorted her to the hospital and luckily, we were able to show them everything through our Ring doorbell. Thank you everyone for your support in my story. I hope none of you guys have to go through this mess like me. Stories number 5. Aita for calling my husband a disgrace after he said my miscarriage ruined his birthday. I miscarried yesterday afternoon about 12 p.m. I've never had a miscarriage before and this baby was so wished for, so it's all so fresh and I'm sobbing right now, so I apologize in advance if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. My husband turned 27 yesterday. I 26F was pregnant with mine and my husband's 27M second child. Yesterday, I was 8 weeks pregnant. The day before yesterday we saw a beautiful heartbeat flicking on the screen and today I'm devastated. I was playing with our 2-year-old when I felt a pressure in my lower abdomen. Not long later, I noticed bleeding and I let my husband know immediately that I had discomfort and bleeding. Before long I had passed what I believe is the fetus and I messaged him, I think I lost the baby. I wanted to keep him updated and I guess I was seeking some kind of emotional support. I asked if he could come home and he said, of course, if it's urgent. I said I think it is because the pain and bleeding is getting worse and I'm starting to feel lightheaded and our 2-year-old is unattended in his playroom right now. We have no friends or family near that I could call who would get to us quicker than he could. I had to clean myself up, crawl downstairs to take paracetamol, make my son his lunch and then put him down for a nap. At this point my husband still isn't home. He was working approximate 30 minutes away and took closer to 60 minutes to get back. Hours later when I asked, it was because he'd stopped at Tesco to pick up some beers. I ended up very poorly, losing lots of blood, lightheaded, vomiting etc. and he had to take me to A&E. By the time I was discharged it was almost 8 p.m. Last week, I had said I'd make him his favorite dinner for his birthday, which he reminded me when we were almost home. I said I wasn't feeling up to it and that whatever takeaway he wants is on me. He said, for fuck's sake, under his breath and then muttered something along the lines of, this bullshit has ruined my birthday. He didn't stop to get any takeaway. He just drove straight home. He put our son to bed and I went to bed and I'm not sure what he did after. I didn't see him this morning as he had already left for work. He's not messaged me all day and he got home a few hours ago. It's now 8:40 p.m. and he's been giving me silent treatment. I tried to speak to him about an hour or so ago and he ignored me and I called him a disgrace. He slammed the bedroom door and locked me out of the bedroom. His mum has since messaged me and said I need to be patient as he's also had a loss. She didn't ask how I was or anything. He's obviously speaking to his mum, but why isn't he opening up and speaking to me? She said I was harsh. I'm feeling utterly emotionally neglected right now. My body has been through emotional and physical hell. I understand that my miscarriage came at a fucking inconvenient time for him as it was his birthday and all. I'm not sure if it's the hormones making me feel crazy, but is it nuts to contemplate divorce? Aita for calling him a disgrace. Stories number 6. Boss cancelled my doctor's appointment without my consent, HIPAA violation. I work as an administrative assistant at a hospital. After speaking with my primary care provider, I scheduled several follow-up tests related to ongoing health concerns. I notified my supervisor that I would be taking a day off to attend these appointments. My supervisor is the director of my department and she has tried to tell our office that no one is allowed to request any Mondays or Fridays off for any reason. I already confirmed with HR that she cannot enforce this policy and it is especially not applicable to my role. I stood up for myself and told her she cannot tell me to cancel or change my medical appointments, and we ended up in an argument with me getting emotional. Later that evening, she texted me to apologize and said she would like to meet with me in the office on Monday and look into reaching out to her scheduling guru to see if she could have appointment moved to a sooner date. I said I would be okay with this, meaning if we met in person, and she reached out to her contact to see what could be done. I never really wanted to change my appointment, but I felt intimidated into considering the idea. Then, without notifying me or obtaining my explicit permission, my supervisor contacted the hospital scheduling department and canceled my medical appointment, rescheduling it for another date and time that did not work for me. I only found out later when the provider sent me a confirmation that the appointment had been canceled and changed. This was done entirely without my consent, knowledge, or involvement. I had to call my provider's office back and tell them I did not authorize these changes, and they weren't able to give me my original appointment back until I escalated things to the department manager. I reported this to the hospital's compliance officer, who initially said they would investigate. A couple of days later, I was told the matter was closed and that my supervisor would face no consequences. I also reported it to HR, but several of my colleagues and I have made many complaints to HR about her behavior over the past year and she never faces any consequences. My supervisor told them that I said I was okay with her making this change, even though I clearly meant only if we were to meet in person and discuss options together. I have screenshots of the text messages, of my voicemails saying my appointment had been cancelled and moved. They never even asked me for any of these documents after I told them I had them all. They simply took her word over mine. I have since filed a formal complaint with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office for Civil Rights, citing potential violations of HIPAA. I've also requested a written email from the compliance officer explaining how they came to this finding during their investigation. This is a pattern of behavior. My boss is very controlling and intimidating. She is always treating people like garbage and acts like she is allowed to do whatever she wants. And apparently, the hospital agrees. I feel so violated and like I have no options. It is awful knowing I still have to continue going into work to face her. I've been trying to find another job, but there are not many options with similar wages in my field. Do I have legal grounds for further action here? Could this also cross into other categories, e.g., employment retaliation, privacy violation? I'd appreciate any advice on next steps. Stories number 7. Aita for wanting to back out of doing my SIL in favor cause I don't like that she installed cameras to be on the safe side. My wife used to get our niece ready and take her to daycare every Friday since she was off and her sister had to be at woke by 6:30 and daycare did not open until 7. My wife's work schedule changed and she could no longer do it. So I offered to change my schedule around to start work at 10. We have been doing this for a roaring 4 months. My SIL has voiced no concerns and when she calls I always answer. We recently found out she installed cameras in her house. When my wife brought it up she told her you never know. I will be honest, I was taken aback cause she has had no complaints in the past, but now she wants to have cameras because you never know. My wife did ask her sister have I done anything that made her concerned or worried. She told no, but it was a safety issue. Once again she told my wife you never know. At this point I told my wife I don't want to go into her house. I don't feel comfortable being in a home or around her daughter if she is that concerned. My wife agrees. It is weird also considering I have known her sister for over 16 years. Others think I am blowing out of proportion, but I don't like how she assumes the worst of me cause I am male. She told my wife she had no concerns when she was doing it. Relevant comments. How did OOP find out about the cameras? Reply. As for how we found out, I saw them, which is why my wife asked about them. Commenter 1. I think you are taking it too personally. In this day and age no one can ever really be too safe. If you otherwise have a good relationship with Asael and niece, this really isn't worth tanking the relationship over. Maybe share with Asael that you wish she had informed you if the cameras, as it feels like a breach of privacy, but she hasn't accused you of anything so she isn't slighting your character. Reply. To me the action of installing the camera is a blow. My wife has been babysitting and doing this for years. She had no need for cameras or safety concerns, but with me suddenly has the urge. That hurts a lot and is hard to not take it personally. She even told my wife you never know. Means she thinks a part of me is capable of hurting my niece. That hurts a lot. OOP on how he is feeling about the cameras after he started to help with his niece. Reply, I am worked up because my wife has watched our niece for years, did the whole getting her ready for daycare for years. My SAL never once installed cameras. I come into the picture all she is concerned. Part that gets me is she waited so long, and told my wife you never know. That hurts, means a part of her thinks I am a risk. Downvoted commenter, what's so uncomfortable about a woman protecting her home? Or anyone for that matter. I'm actually concerned for your wife cause if my so had this reaction, I'd be pausing majorly. Reply, think you are missing my point. If this was a general safety thing she would have done this a lot sooner. She also would not have told my wife it was because you never know. Even my wife was taken aback by her sister's response and reasoning. As stated, if I had any doubts or thoughts a person was capable of causing harm I would not let them in my house, let alone be around my child alone. That is how I would have handled this. Commenter 2, you're making a huge assumption. Maybe the, you never know, is about a home invasion or some other crime that could happen. You assuming it has anything to do with you or wanting to quit over it kind of makes it seem like you are worried about them. Reply, my wife did ask if she had concerns or worries but she told her you never know. It is not a leap, this is what she told my wife, and yes, my wife was taken aback when she told her reasoning also. If this was a general safety issue she had years to do, my wife has been doing what I am doing for years prior. Update, I do appreciate the feedback and differing perspectives. I did speak with my SIL with my wife and to say the least it was enlightening. I did ask my SIL why the sudden urge to install cameras, as she told my wife she said it was for safety purposes since you never know. My wife did push back and asked her RO elaborate as to what she meant. My SIL tried to avoid answering directly but my wife kept pushing and finally she did admit she was more comfortable with me changing her daughter unsupervised. At this point I asked my SIL if she truly felt I would harm her daughter. She honestly shrugged her shoulders. This annoyed me but it did piss off my wife. My wife once again pushed the issue and it turns out my SIL was never comfortable with me watching her daughter and felt betrayed by my wife because she changed up an arrangement that worked. She said I was far too eager to change my work schedule to take over Fridays. It came off as insistent. I told her yes, I was insistent because I did not want my wife to give up on an opportunity because she felt beholden to an arrangement she made with her. After that exchange I told my SIL I would no longer take her daughter to daycare. This happened on Wednesday, she took off last Friday. So long story short, she never wanted me to watch her daughter unsupervised, found it strange how eager I was to rearrange my Fridays to be with my niece. My wife's family thinks I am being weird and creepy. My wife had one last final conversation with her sister on Friday and apparently it got ugly since my SIL did call to apologize and I did appreciate that, but I told either you trust me or you don't. Since she does not, I did recommend me find someone that she does trust so she can be at ease. She tried to give me a sob story how we are being unfair towards her, all she was trying to do was keep her daughter safe. I told her best way for her to do that was to find someone else she trusts to handle Fridays or change her job schedule. I was going to originally offer, as some suggested, she brings her daughter to us before she heads to work, but after the conversation I decided it was best for everyone. I took a step back. I don't know what will come of this in terms of the family since most think I am being unreasonable, but my wife and I agree that if she is not comfortable with me it is not our duty to make her comfortable. Thanks again. Update, I did want to point out that as many have said, yeah, my wife is awesome. Some have asked why am I not upset. I am upset but more so hurt. Not just because of what was said about me but more so because this situation will forever alter the relationship we have with the family and I know that hurts my wife a lot. We love our niece but I know my wife and her have a special bond that is her godchild. So I am more so hurt this has created a rift that will probably never be mended. Relevant comments. OOP's thoughts on the aftermath of the whole situation. Reply, I am upset, but it being overshadowed by the hurt. I have known my SIL for 16 years, and it has been a major blow to think she is that afraid of me because I am a guy. Commenter 1, this is so awful, I'm sorry. Just to brace you, she or the extended family might jump to the unreasonable conclusion that if you're not willing to help out because of cameras then you must have been doing something you don't want seen. Be prepared for that accusation. Explain that what changed wasn't the cameras, it was that you learned how she sees you. You thought she'd appreciate you inconveniencing yourself to make her life easier, and instead she assumed horrible things about you. You aren't interested in helping someone who doesn't respect you, and you're not willing to risk your own safety if she's willing to jump to such conclusions without reasonable cause. Reply, they already have, that is what hurts the most cause this will forever alter the relationship we have with their family. Commenter 2, good for you and your wife. She stuck up for you and you are holding your boundaries. This is on SAL to fix the dynamic. If she doesn't trust you then you never need to be involved with helping care for her kids. She is an adult and can figure her shit out herself. Commenter 3, if your wife's family thinks you're being weird and creepy, all the more reason to avoid all contact with them. Commenter 4, NTA she basically said she thinks you're a creep but still expected you to do her a favor. You set a boundary after being disrespected and somehow you're the weird one. Nah, if she doesn't trust you, she can find someone else and deal with the consequences. Stories number 8. Aita for telling my boyfriend's family that I bought our house, not him. This whole thing started last month or so. Me, 27F, and my boyfriend, 26M, who I will call Matt for privacy's sake, have been together for 6 years now. I'm the main breadwinner, and that has always been a struggle in our relationship. I would say he is pretty insecure of earning less than me. About a year ago I had finally saved up enough to purchase a house in the neighborhoods I really like. Up until then, me and Matt had been living in his apartment, which is cramped, and not located in a nice area. Matt has never been too bothered about moving, he likes living in his apartment, and he doesn't mind living elsewhere, as long as doesn't have to pay more than half. Knowing damn well I could easily purchase the whole house, and it was a bargain for the area, I bit the bullet and bought it from all my own savings. When we moved in, Matt loved the place, and I thought everything was fine. Now this is the reason I am posting on Reddit. 2 days ago me and Matt were over to his mom's place for dinner. Conversation was going fine until the topic of our house was brought up. Mil mentioned how proud she was of Matt for owning his own house at 26, which I was confused about, but obviously didn't want to start anything at the dinner table. Then Matt's sister chimed in about how much of an achievement it was. Matt looked over at me, not saying anything. I'm not usually a petty or confrontational person, but something about the fact that I was the one who not only bought the house, but also paid majority of the bills, and Matt didn't even drop a dollar, stuck with me. So I decided to say something. I asked Matt who really bought the house in front of everyone. I know, it was a dick move, but honestly I was so riled up by that stage. Matt said nothing, and then I announced to everyone that Matt didn't even contribute to buying the house. Immediately after saying that I packed up my stuff and went home. I have been texting with Matt's sister, I will call Kate, who seems to be on my side. Matt is staying with his mum right now, so I have the house all to myself. He hasn't contacted me yet, and I don't know whether it's worth breaking up over a lie like this. Am I the asshole? Update, Aita for telling my boyfriend's family I bought our house, not him. Hi Reddit, I'm back. Last night I posted an Aita, and it kind of blew up. I don't know Reddit standards, but I think 400,000 views is a lot. So, some stuff happened today. Matt, fake name for boyfriend, came back to the house. I was assuming he was coming back to get his things and leave, but I was unfortunately very wrong. He literally told me he could forgive me, and that he was moving back in, as if that was a good thing. I was so shocked, but he was deads. So as any sane person would do, I grabbed all his remaining stuff, gave it to him, and told him to GTFO. He got really mad at that, and I was worried he would get aggressive, so I called Kate, SIL, for backup. She was really helpful, and drove Matt home. As soon as I can, I'm changing locks. As for some of the comments, I pay the mortgage, and I don't even think Matt knows what a mortgage is. I live in Canada, so I'm not sure if I have legal rights to kick him out. He has stayed with me just over a year. I am trying to seek some lawyer advice. Thank you all for your help, and I will try update if I can. Stories number 9. My 38F sister, 34F, made up a dead brother to her spouse, 35M, and in-laws, 60s MNF. I accidentally outed the lie, but why am I the bad guy here? Usually a lurker, but something happened tonight that has me incredibly confused. Apologies in advance for the length. Backstory, I'm the eldest of 4 sisters. We're stair-stepped, 2 years apart. I'm Meg, 38, Joe is 36, Beth is 34, and Amy is 32. Our parents used to joke about how they kept trying for a boy but finally gave up after girl number 4. Not gonna lie, it hurt our feelings a little, especially Amy, but they stopped that and assured us they wouldn't change anything. Every one of us has at least one daughter. I am the only sister that has a son. At 17, he's the eldest grandchild, and I'm fairly certain he's my dad's favorite person in the world. They are best friends. It's adorable. Okay, now that you have the backstory fam history, let's talk about tonight. My son, who is very intelligent, and absolutely crushed high school, recently received his acceptance letter to a pretty prestigious university. Full ride. We are incredibly proud. My folks wanted to throw him a little congratulatory party, and tonight worked for all of our schedules, which is no small feat, for different families with 11 kids between them, so we all headed to the folks' house for pizza and cake. At one point, Amy brought up that it is Sibling Appreciation Day, and Mom said she wanted all of her girls to say what we appreciate about our sisters, and we go youngest to eldest, with most of the compliments going to me, as I was kind of a second mom to them. I told each of my sisters how much I loved them, among other things, and then finished my speech off saying something like, "And I really appreciate that we didn't have any gross boys stinking up our house." All of us but Beth and her husband laugh. Beth's eyes got really big and her husband, Chase, looked at me like I was something he scraped off the bottom of his shoe. Suddenly, he says, "That's pretty ked up." I said something like, "Ick Chase, I've smelled you after your workouts, it's pretty bad," and he got even more mad and said, "How could you talk about Tyler like that?" And Beth starts losing her mind, guys. She's grabbing him by the arm and begging him to hush, saying they need to go home now, etc. So naturally I'm like, who is Tyler? Well, friends, apparently Tyler is Beth's twin that died during childbirth. And it made our folks and me so depressed that nobody is allowed to speak of him or reference him, ever. Beth forbade him from ever mentioning to any family member. After Chase told us this, nobody said a word. It was so damn tense. Finally, I just kind of bluntly said, "Hi Mo, I'm not sure why, but Beth lied to you about this. I think you guys should talk about it, but I don't want to hear anything else about this tonight, as we're here to celebrate my son." After that, Beth burst into tears and ran into her old bedroom, with Chase, Mom, and Joe following her. The party never fully recovered and they took off pretty shortly after that. I stayed behind to help clean, and so my dad and son could hang some more. While I'm doing the dishes, my mom scolded me pretty harshly about calling Beth a liar. "If the baby shoe fits, mother." My dad said I wasn't wrong, but I embarrassed Beth. What the hell was I supposed to do? I was getting chastised over a lie. Absolutely not. Beth also texted me that I fucked her over, and a text from Chase's phone told me I was the actual liar's sister, and everyone knows that. Amy is on my side, but she and Beth always butted heads. Joe claims she's neutral, but she also told me I didn't have to call her out like that. What the hell else was I supposed to do? Just take the lashing? And why is everyone acting like me calling out what I consider to be a pretty heavy lie is worse than the lie itself? How do we resolve this situation? I love my sisters so damn much, they are my best friends, but this is so weird and so wrong to put on me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I can't imagine any other response. I really can't. Were you seriously expected to lie along with her? I think that is shocking. Reply, I have no idea what she was expecting. I have lied for her before. But saying she's at my house while she's really getting boudoir photos done for him is not the same as lying about a whole person who never existed. It's beyond bizarre. Commenter 2, I'm kind of impressed that after all of that she managed to convince her husband that you were the liar. Of course, if he still believes her, he's dumb as a brick. I'd think there is proof enough on her birth certificate as it will state she was a single birth. Reply, I will say, Chase is not a dummy, and he's typically not malicious. And although nobody really backed me up about this being a lie, at least not in front of me, I think it's pretty obvious that I was telling the truth, as everyone else was obviously confused and dead silent in the moment. I have not responded to the texts, as I'm not looking to burn bridges. I've made many mistakes, and my sisters have graciously forgiven me. I'm just flummoxed. And a little hurt. Commenter 3, this is very weird. I'm confused at why your parents aren't embarrassed by your sister's behavior. Especially trying to keep up the lie afterwards and saying you're lying. Is she mentally okay? Does she have a history of lying? Reply, we all lied as kids, but I assumed she grew out of it as an adult. We also all exhibited some attention-seeking behavior, but again, age-appropriate, especially for a family with 4 kids and 2 parents who worked full-time. My parents are hippies and very much live and let live kind of vibe. But this feels icky to me. So I'm a little surprised they're not more upset about it. Then again, they never punished us in front of each other, so they could be dealing with, or planning to deal with the situation behind the scenes. Either way, Beth is way too old to be making up dead sibling stories. Commenter 4, your sister dug herself a weird hole, is now mad she has to dig her way out of it, and is placing that anger on you for accidentally handing her the shovel. If she wants to blame anyone for being caught in a lie, she can look in the mirror. How do you fix it? Your sister has to pull her head out of her ass and apologize for putting you all in that position, and then you can think about apologizing for being blunt about it. But TBH, I don't feel you did anything wrong exactly here. You had no idea what was going on, why you were being accused of being a bad person, and literally just wanted the focus back on your son's achievements. It's not like you accidentally spilled a secret you were supposed to keep. Your sister created this entire mess and should probably explain to you guys why she did it. Reply, I appreciate your input and kind words. I don't like drama, so I find it best to just kinda stop it in its tracks. And my son, we recently got an autism diagnosis, what was formerly referred to as Asperger's, and it's messed with his head a little. He's always been so bad socially, and really struggled making friends. As a result, his cousins got the bulk of the attention. He was really proud of himself and I wanted him to remember this little get-together because it was all about him for once. Commenter 5, your sister is a freak weirdo. Making up a dead twin for what? Sympathy. Attention. She fucked up and everyone knows it. Why anyone would want to cover up her lie is beyond me. She made her bed. Let her deal with the repercussions of this outrageous lie. Question though. Did or have your parents tried to set the record straight with her idiot hubby, or are they staying silent about this alleged twin baby that never existed? Reply, when I told Chase she was lying, nobody backed me up, but I believe it was kind of obvious. BC nobody refuted my claims. That coupled with Beth frantically trying to get her husband to leave, Chase is smart. He can put 2 and 2 together. I mentioned in another comment that our parents never punished us, nor really got onto us, in front of each other. So I would like to think they're handling things on that end behind the scenes, and trying to appeal to my dislike of drama and empathy to get me to forgive her. I don't find the lie unforgivable. I think it's bizarre and I don't appreciate it, but I don't think our relationship is over. I love her. I took her on her first date, took her and a boy to get ice cream and they held hands. We lied to our parents about that one. I helped take care of her when she was postpartum because Chase had to work. She's got my heart, you know. Commenter 6, just to be clear, you do recognize this level of lie as a mental health disorder, correct? While I am not a therapist, this very much sounds like some strain of Munchausen's. Again, not a therapist, just therapy adjacent in training and work, so I have some familiarity, so get her some professional help. This isn't just a cry for help, this is a sign of a broken brain that requires professional help and maybe even medical interventions. Reply, I work in healthcare, albeit not directly in the mental health field, but I am a little familiar with various disorders. I actually do think she's a hypochondriac. One of my nieces is always coming down with something. They are not, or my sister definitely has Crohn's disease, she doesn't. She won't drink milk if it's within 3 days of the best by date. Refuses bread pudding. BC use old bread to make them. Won't eat brownies I baked from scratch the day before. BC they're old, so I know she's got some issues. But hey, we all have issues. I'm pretty emotionally closed off except to my spouse and children. Some people think that makes me AB-. I try not to be too judgmental. BC I'm definitely not perfect, but I'm judging the F out of this. Update. Okay, I think we have some answers. The events that occurred last night. I do want to tell everyone who took time to give advice or kind words, thank you. I honestly couldn't read everything, I was, and am, exhausted. But I did get an idea of how I wanted to approach everything, thanks to the advice given. My post says it was removed, and I'm unsure why, so hopefully this one will stay. I'll get to the update in a few. I just wanted to answer some FAQ comments real quick. 1. This is fake. I wish it was. I really wish my mind worked in a way where I could make things up like this. Alas, my imagination is lacking. 2. Your parents named you after Little Women. This is probably partially to blame for the fake comments. These are just placeholder names I used, as there are 4 sisters in that novel. My parents are hippies, and gave us some pretty noticeable names. If I used our real ones, on the off chance any of our friends read this, they'd know immediately this was our family. 3. Beth is continuing to lie and Chase is believing it, and your mom and Joe threw you under the bus too. Chase, I think he knew I was being truthful. Also, I said the text came from his phone. I was actually thinking Beth sent it, as that's not Chase's vibe. About Mom and Joe, they didn't throw me under the bus. But I'll go into more detail soon. 4. Is it possible my mom had twins and I just forgot or didn't know about the death? Absolutely not. I was at all of my sister's births. I don't remember Joe's, but I do remember Beth and Amy's, and there were no multiples, no deaths, no funerals, no depression. 5. The birth certificate will prove it. It sure would, yes. But I'm not about to try to strong-arm my sister into showing her husband her birth certificate. 6. Your sister is mentally ill, also the golden child, and you're the scapegoat. I'm not about to say my sister is sick, but I do think she has some issues, as we all do. There's no golden child and scapegoat in this family. My parents were and are really good about treating all of us fairly and equally. 7. you could have should have been more tactful, pulled her aside, not called her a liar. Had I known that Tyler was my dead brother, I never would have asked who he was. Chase and I tease each other a lot, and I honestly thought he was about to come out with some kind of funny joke, a la, "D's nuts." My lack of tact. I think it's pretty lacking in tact to make up a whole dead sibling. And really, facts are facts. She lied, and that's that. The night was about my son, so I squashed the issue and chose to move forward, hoping to end the conversation with as little drama as possible. Okay, so now up to the update. After a night of barely sleeping and my blood pressure dangerously high, I called my mom this morning fully ready to let out an emotionally charged tirade about how I feel they unfairly threw me under the bus and took Beth's side when she objectively did the worst thing. My mom answered the phone apologizing and asked me to just listen. When she and Joe followed Beth and Chase to Beth's room, Mom did tell Chase that Tyler was not real, and this is an issue between her and Chase, and they should probably leave, because she didn't want the evening ruined. She did get on to me, but it was mostly out of sympathy and empathy for Beth, and she recognized it wasn't okay. She apologized for that. She spoke with Chase this morning, and Beth, who is the one who sent me the text from Chase's phone, finally came clean early this morning, after hours of denying the lie. Something I didn't mention, as I didn't feel it was pertinent to the story, is Beth's eldest daughter, Madison, isn't Chase's biological daughter. He's been around since Madison was 2. Also kind of pertinent, is that Chase is a first responder. He loves to be a hero. And he's very good in that role. He met Beth doing victims advocacy. And as such, I believe they both view him as saving Beth. This has long been speculated, but it's not exactly our place to say anything. And we all love Chase. He is an amazing person, and Beth is no dummy. She picked up on Chase's hero complex immediately. It appears that, in an effort to make herself look more sympathetic, vulnerable, broken, she lied about having a twin brother that died in childbirth. I guess being in an abusive relationship and having a small child just wasn't enough. She did not have to do that. They've been together 10 years now, and not once did she come clean. To me that proves a clear pattern of deceit and manipulation. However, I'm not going to speculate on her mental health problems or reasonings for not coming clean. That is for her and her husband to deal with. Neither one of them have called nor texted me to apologize, and I'm honestly unsure if they will. Beth is more of the rug sweeping type, while I'm a confront issues head-on type. I will not be cutting my sister off for this, though. I love her, and at the end of the day I just want her to be happy and healthy. I do hope that this whole issue will cause her to rethink some of her life choices and maybe she can get some therapy. I think we could all use therapy, TBH. That's where we are right now. My mom did not offer any information about how Beth and Chase are doing, and I did not ask. It's not my business. I have not heard from Joe, but Amy and I have been texting all morning and she is being my best good friend right now and providing a lot of support. Hopefully we can all move forward and grow together in the future. Thanks again for the support you all have sent my way. Top comments. Commenter 1, I am glad your mother apologized, but your sister really owes you, and the entire family, an apology. This was a really selfish and weird thing to do. She also owes Chase and his family an apology. I hope she gets some help for this. Good luck. Commenter 2, your sister could probably benefit from therapy. I will never understand why people think it's a good idea to lie about something so easily disproven. Don't lie about anything and you won't have situations blow up like this. I hope she comes to her senses and apologizes to you. Commenter 3, I think your family needs to do a sit down with your sister because this isn't normal behavior at all. She lied for 10 years about a dead brother. Y'all need to call this behavior out since she's way too old to be acting like this. And doing nothing is showing her that you guys will accept similar or the same type of behavior in the future. Commenter 4, well, this is why she continues to do this nonsense at her big-ass age. No one holds her accountable. You can't move forward and grow together if people don't take accountability. Your entire family enables her in the worst way. Stories number 10. Aita for not paying for my friend's dinner when she called me a pedophile. I, 29F, moved into my current apartment 2 years ago. We have an elderly neighbor, in her late 70s, who mostly keeps to herself. She gets her groceries and medicines delivered every week, but the newspaper delivery boy only drops the paper on the ground floor. Before I moved in, she used to pay some neighborhood kids to bring it up to her, but they moved away shortly after I arrived. So, I started bringing her the paper every day. I usually ring the bell and leave it at her door, but when the door is already open, we sometimes have a little chat. She often insists I come in for coffee and always thanks me warmly. I noticed her apartment is filled with pictures of her grandson, probably more than 20. To be honest, I thought he was the cutest baby I'd ever seen. The photos ranged from his baby days to what looked like his 21st birthday. I assumed he was around that age but never asked, and she never mentioned it. About a year after I moved in, I saw an incredibly attractive guy in our building. I was about 70% sure it was the same kid from the pictures, though he looked older than I expected. When he introduced himself, I found out I was right. We started talking whenever he visited his grandmother, and soon we began dating. We've been together for 8 months now. He's met my parents, and everything has been going well. Last week, I wanted him to meet my college friends and my twin sister, who's currently in town. We all went out to dinner. Although it wasn't explicitly discussed, it was kind of assumed that I would cover the bill. Usually, when someone introduces their boyfriend to the group, the couple pays. The dinner went really well. My friends, a group of 4, and my sister all seemed genuinely happy for us. I was sharing the story of how I met him and his grandmother. At some point, my boyfriend stepped away to take a call. That's when my friend Sarah suddenly called me a pedophile. I was honestly shocked. When I asked her if she was serious, she just said, "I know a pedophile when I see one." I was so disturbed by her words that I excused myself. I paid the bill, except for Sarah, and left with my boyfriend. Later, she messaged me saying that besides being a pedophile, I'm also petty and cheap. It really hurt. I absolutely despise abusers, especially child abusers, so being called something like that has taken a serious emotional toll on me. I'm disgusted by her and the whole situation. What's been bugging me even more is that Sarah was abused by a family member as a child. So now I keep questioning myself. Did I do something wrong? My sister and 2 of my friends are standing by me. Another friend said she doesn't think I'm a pedophile, but she finds it a bit creepy that I saw him as a baby before we met. My boyfriend, 30M, actually found it funny at first, but after seeing how upset I've been, he's been reassuring me and telling me it's not weird at all. I don't know what to do. I know I'm not a pedophile, but it's been really upsetting to be seen as one by someone I once trusted. Stories number 11. Whipped up for canceling a hotel booking I made with people I no longer speak to anymore. I, 20F, made a hotel booking for myself, my sister, 15F, and 3 other girls, 20F, back in October for a concert in June. However, since December, I had an argument with one of the girls that led to her ignoring me and no longer speaking to me, with the other 2 seemingly taking her side and the 3 of them ostracizing me from the group. This led to me moving out of the flat we shared, and since then none of them have attempted to contact me and seem to just get angry with me over every little thing I do. I tried multiple times to apologize and amend things with them, which only resulted in them either ignoring me or dismissing the issue as nothing and pretending nothing was wrong. That was a very, very shortened summary of what happened, and I've come to the conclusion that I do not want to make amends with these people and do not want to speak to them anytime soon for the way they've treated me. Here's the big issue: I do not want to stay at the same hotel as them for this concert in June. The advice I've received from almost everyone in my life is to cancel the booking and rebook another hotel for me and my sister. They think it's an appropriate response to the way they've treated me these past 6 months. I don't like this option because I would feel obliged to tell them that I'm canceling the booking, which undoubtedly start an argument that I'm not mentally prepared to handle. It's a refundable, pay-on-the-day booking that can be cancelled up to a week before the stay. I booked 2 rooms, one for my sister and I and the other for them. My initial plan was to cancel one of the rooms and transfer the booking of the other room to them. However, I've been told that my card will still be attached to the booking and that it might not even be possible to do this without talking to any of them about it. I'm starting now to want to cancel the booking altogether and book something else for my sister and I, as I know for a fact they will not sort anything out for themselves or talk to me about this until the very last minute. A lot of people have been telling me I need to grow a backbone and let them deal with the consequences of refusing to communicate with for over half a year now. Whipped for doing this? Happy to give more context. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my dad he has to decide between me attending his wedding and accepting I won't take part in the family unity ceremony or accept I won't be there. My dad's engaged to his partner of 2-ish years. They moved in together last month and their wedding is in December. I, 17M, am dad's only bio kid. His almost wife has 3 kids of her own. Her kids are younger, like under 10, maybe they're even all under 8, I'm not that sure. They decided they want to do a family unity ceremony and have it be about becoming one family instead of the 2 of them being a married couple. His future stepkids are excited by the idea and want to take part. I don't and won't take part. I already explained to him that I'm not interested and can't be talked into it. He asked me why and pushed for me to reconsider. He told his wife and she's freaking out because her kids have this idea that they'll get a big brother out of this marriage, and my dad and her told the kids will be real siblings once the two of them are married. All of this despite the fact I really don't know her or her kids. I have really only spent any real time with the kids twice, and it was more me trying not to be a dick than me wanting to spend time or get to know them. I think that, and I think that's obvious because I don't know their actual ages. Some background to explain some relationship dynamics because I'm sure there are questions. My dad raised me alone. My mom took off when I was less than a year old. I don't remember her. I don't remember her being around. Her family wasn't around or in my life either. I didn't have a lot of family besides my dad growing up. Except for one of his siblings. And for most of my life Dad was a good dad. But when I was maybe 11 he started preparing me for the fact he wanted his own life and travel the world when I turned 18 and I'd be on my own. He talked about how I should not expect to see him very often and to expect we might not see each other for years sometimes, and how he doesn't want to be tied down until he dies. That he would call or answer calls when he wasn't busy with life. He said some stuff that made me believe he resented the fact he raised me alone and had to change his life for me. He never actually let up on that. He talked about it so much that we started to fight and I told him I got it and he was done being a dad at 18 and he told me I was being dramatic. I argued that he told me I could go 5 or maybe even more years without seeing him and he didn't want to be tied down. That he might even ignore calls so he could live life. I told him that sounded like he wanted to stop being a dad. He told me I focused on the wrong parts. When we argued about it other times he said that he wanted the life he missed out on and he wasn't waiting around for me to be ready. That I'd land on my feet eventually and I wouldn't be his kid anymore, I'd be his peer. Which he then said I picked up wrong, but basically for years I have been prepared to leave at 18 and not have my dad in it. Then he met his almost wife and all that talk about traveling the world was gone. He started to become a dad to her kids. He was spending time with them and building a life with them. Eventually he tried to include me, but that was only really in the last 4 or 5 months. But I've ignored it. I did babysit twice for them. Once when his almost wife was rushed to hospital and the second time when his almost wife had a follow-up surgery for health issues she has. My dad has tried to argue that our family is growing and I should be trying harder to be included in it. I told him that won't happen. And if he wants whatever half-assed relationship he planned to have with me before then he needs to accept that. That I'll come to his wedding if he wants me there, as long as he accepts I won't be a part of that ceremony, and if he can't accept it then I won't go and he'll need to accept that. His almost wife heard us talk it out and she said I'm not taking the 11 good years into it and I'm punishing her children for my dad not being perfect and that isn't fair to them. She told me a good person would be glad dad decided to stick around and love the new people, especially the kids, and want better for them. And for full disclosure I have about a month to go until I'm 18 and my plan is to move out that day. Relevant comments. Commenter, this is a tough situation. I mean NTA for feeling how you feel towards your dad. It has to hurt being prepped to be solo at 18 for so long and then he changes his mind, for her. However, it sounds like your problem is with your dad and you've not really gotten a chance to know her or her kids. I wouldn't immediately throw away the chance to build a strong family unit. If anything I'd tell him no unless you two do some family therapy to see if you can overcome this. Reply, I don't want a family unit with them. I accepted before they came along that I would be on my own and there's nothing dad can say or do now to change the fact he'll stay for them but not me. Even therapy won't make me want to work on overcoming this. I have friends who are more like family to me than he is now. Commenter 1, NTAH. Your dad set the parameters of your relationship when you were still young and drummed them into your head. Now that his priorities have changed, he acts surprised that you are not interested in a different relationship. Go live your life. Reply, he must have expected me to be the same upset 11-year-old who first found out what his dad had planned. But I knew he was serious, so I thought about and planned for when that time comes. 11-year-old me was so sad and worried. It felt like nobody wanted me. My mom hadn't wanted me and left, and my dad was basically saying he regretted sticking around to raise me and would leave once he wouldn't get in trouble for it. I had no idea what I was going to do. Commenter 2, if those are the only resolutions you're willing to accept then that would make you TAH. You're essentially just saying you have no interest in being a family and that will 100% cause an everlasting crack in your family even if you ever decide to be part of the family again. However, you're 100% justified in how you feel, also how your father's words and actions made you feel. That there is no denying how shitty that is. However, his intentions might also include the fact that he could die tomorrow and you'd be left alone. It makes me think that his words and actions wanted to also prepare you to be able to survive on your own since you don't really have any other close family to rely. To me, the circumstances have changed a lot and it really sounds like both his soon-to-be wife and your father want you to be a part of their family unit. At least for now. If you're adamant that you never want anything to do with this new part of his family or your father, then go along with the ultimatums you've set for yourself. Because this is the path you're setting up for yourself. Reply, that's exactly what I am saying. I have no interest in making these people my family. I have no interest in clinging to a man who was ready to discard me and is only changing his plans for new people. Who only tried to include me later on. It's not like he worked to make up for the things he said and plans he made for all those years. And he knew I was working to save so I could move out at 18. He knew I was saving to have a life when he wasn't there. At no point did he say he was sorry. He only ever argued that I saw the worst of what he was saying. But every time he tried to make a new point, he made it worse. And I have worked my ass off to be ready for him to leave, and it got to a point where I knew that was better, because why pretend to see the best in a person who resents me for something I couldn't control, like being born. Commenter 3, can you make a deal like you'll do it if he'll pay for college? Reply, I'm not going to college, but no, I wouldn't do it to get his money or for him to pay for something. OOP on saving money for when he moves out. Reply, I've been saving for years now. I have enough to follow through on the plans I made, and then I will work hard when I move to keep my head above water. OOP's plans when he is out of the house. Reply, me and one other friend will be temp renting a place until after graduation and our other friends can settle. Then we're moving and getting a place together. We've talked about it a lot and stuff has started to be set in motion already. Only one needs it like I do, but the others are all on board because to them it's us sticking together and them helping the two of us. But they're really excited that we'll all be roommates too. Is OOP planning to locate his biological mother? Reply, no, I don't want to put myself through more rejection. If she were to come looking for me, then maybe I'd be open to contact, but I can't chase after another parent. Update. I debated posting my update and I still might chicken out, but I'll write it out and see whether I post or not. I know people wanted an update and I was asked to talk more about what my plans were. I shared some details in my original post, but things have changed because I moved out. Technically kicked out. On the day I made my post, I had plans to sleep at a friend's house. Once I got there, my dad sent a text saying his partner was rushed to the hospital again and he needed me to babysit again. I told him no once and that was it. A few hours later my dad asked where the hell I was and why had I said no when this was an emergency. He sent multiple texts, but when he realized I really wouldn't babysit and had stayed wherever the hell I was, he went off on and he told me if I won't babysit and be there for the family then I better stay gone. He texted me the next morning, yesterday technically, and said I was not living under his roof after that stunt and to stay the fuck gone. I knew he meant it, so when everyone was out I went to the house and grabbed everything I had prepared to leave with when following my plan exactly. That included all the important documents I had, clothes and anything I bought or that was given to me by people who aren't my dad. It was basically all ready to go anyway and I got in and out without a fight. My friend's parents are letting me stay until I can follow through with my original plan, which was to get somewhere with a friend locally until we all graduate, and then some friends and I will be moving state. We've been working on this for a long time now. Honestly, I have been working my ass off to save money to be able to leave regardless of whether I had help from friends, but having them definitely helps. My dad sent more texts since I grabbed all my stuff. He tried to guilt and shame me and talked about how much the kids needed me and I wasn't there. But he also let out way more of his resentment toward me, and it confirmed what I already knew about him. He doesn't regret the way he treated me since I was 11. He meant every word he said. And that he expected me to pay him back for raising me, but I won't. I'm not staying to be treated like shit. He still wants me out of his house, and he reminded me that I was not welcome back. That he better not come home to find me there ever again. So that's my update. It's been a crazy couple of days and I got so many comments on my post. Way more than I expected. I know a few people tried to convince me that he really did love me and didn't resent me and was trying to make it up to me. But after all this I'm more convinced he resents me, and the trying to include me lately was an act to make me someone who could do stuff for him. I don't believe I ever had the dad I originally thought I had. Because I don't think an actual good and loving dad would shut it all off one day for no good reason. Things have changed a little, but I'll keep working toward my plan. I'll also make sure I make it up to my friend's parents because I know this was unexpected for them and I'm grateful they let me stay. Relevant comments. OOP on if he has any other family members or if he knows his mother's side. Reply, no, and I never knew anything about them. I never met or knew any family except for one of dad's siblings. And I don't have a relationship with them anymore. Commenter 1, NTAH. You need a lawyer. You're still 17, so he owes you child support. You have all the evidence to go to the police if necessary. Talk to your friend's parents and ask them, your dad must pay, if he wants or not. Reply, I'm not going to fight for child support. I know it would screw him, but I just want to get away from him, and being locked in some court battle with him would just be a stress I don't need when I need to focus on more important things. Commenter 2, his new family are in for one hell of a shock when the latest facade drops and they realize who they are stuck with. You've handled all this with maturity beyond your years, have a brilliant life. OOP on his father's wedding. Reply, after everything that's happened now I won't be attending. Like at all. There's no once a year or once a decade relationship going to happen anymore. I won't offer back what he offered to me. Commenter 3, so glad you got everything out. Regarding your mom, you only have his version. Your mom may not have abandoned you like your dad told you. Your dad is abusive, and let's get this straight. You do not owe him a damn thing for being raised. Keep all of the text messages in case you need them. Get through school and then please attempt to find some of your mom's relatives and make sure she is here. Your dad showed his true colors. Don't ever fall for a nice act from him. Might never go over there or ever be alone with him. I would believe nothing he said. I think he is possibly lying about your mom. Reply, I'll be honest, I don't want to do a search like that anytime soon, if ever. I've had enough shit to deal with, and there's still a chance they are both shitty humans who didn't want me. Stories number 13. Aita for telling my parents I'm not a band-aid for their grief and they can't slot me into the wanted place just because their favorite child is dead at my sister's funeral. My 16-year-old sister died a month ago. We weren't close, because of our parents and how they favored her and turned her into someone unlikable. My maternal grandparents, who took me in a year ago because my parents were straight up ignoring my existence at that point, told me I, 18M, had to go to the funeral, 1, because she's my sister, and 2, because I needed to support my parents in their grief. I went reluctantly and mostly out of respect for my grandparents because they did take me in and got me away from my parents' house. When we got there, my parents were acting so different toward me. They had stopped paying any attention to me when I was 7 or 8 years old, and a year ago they told me they were disgusted by me and ashamed to call me their son because I wouldn't give my sister the love and attention she deserved. So the attention from them was not pleasant and had been completely unexpected. There was a mini fight before the service because I refused to sit with them. My grandparents attempted to push me into it, but I ignored them. Once the service was over, my parents were trying to cling on to me and hug me, and I haven't been hugged by them in 10 or more years. It frustrated me and I told them to stop and tried to shake them off. My grandparents were telling me to calm down, and my parents said they needed me and we all needed to grieve my sister together. I told them I wasn't a band-aid for their grief now that she's gone, and I said they didn't get to slot me into the wanted child place just because their favorite child is dead. I told them I never should have come and I didn't want their fake BS. My grandparents lost their shit with me and kicked me out for saying what I did. My paternal grandparents, who live in another state, offered to let me move in with them, so I made my way to them. I hadn't graduated yet, but that got fucked up in the process, so I'm not finishing high school like I was supposed to. But I did get closer to grandparents who not only saw how badly I had been treated before but spoke up and were pushed out for saying anything to my parents. There have been lots of calls and texts from my maternal grandparents, so I had to block them like I had my parents when I first moved in with them. But they want me to be ashamed of my words at the funeral and want me to apologize and make peace and forgive my parents and make up for my evil ways, their way to describe it, at the funeral. My paternal grandparents said my maternal ones always coddled and babied mom, and it was no surprise they do it even now. But AITA for what I said. Stories number 14. My 23M girlfriend, 23F, is making D&D sessions not fun for the group I run games for. Hello. I was not sure if this would be better posted on a sub that deals more with the tabletop RPG, Dungeons and Dragons, but I am in need of advice. My girlfriend and I have been dating for about 11 months now, and things have been pretty good between us. We have had a few ups and downs, but nothing serious. She and I both love the game Dungeons and Dragons, and so I had invited her to join the group I run games for. It is, or rather was, a nice way for us to bond. Shortly after inviting her to join in on my games, some stuff happened with her grandparents and her family was going to move out of town to a location that is about 3 to 4 hours away. Neither of us wanted to do a long-distance relationship. I had a bad experience with one anyways, so I let her move in with me. Since I am a student and my income would not support the both of us, she got a job on the campus I go to. Well, shortly after she started working, I had noticed her attitude and behavior change drastically. At first, when things did not go her way in the game, she would joke, "I'll have you sleep on the couch." Which was said in a joking manner, so everyone found it kinda funny. She never would force me to sleep on the couch, so I did not mind it. A few months later, she became easier to upset during the games and would argue specific decisions I made for the sake of the game. Most of the time, they were small and did not really affect the game or anyone's fun. Other times her arguing would completely halt the game, as I would have to stop and read the rules out to her saying exactly why something was decided that way. During this time she continued to say stuff similar to, "I'll have you sleep on the couch," but in a more serious and angry tone. Granted, she never followed through with making me sleep on the couch. But anyways, this all leads up to last night where I was running a session and she became upset over the number of monsters the party had fought that night. After an encounter with a bunch of really weak monsters, the party ran into some wild barbarians who attacked the party. This is when she threatened to make me sleep on the couch if I did not wrap up the encounter fast. I decided to ignore her threat for the time, since I did not want to argue and just wanted to wrap things up for the night. The other party members, most in their 20s, both guys, girls, and my sister, appeared to be really uncomfortable with her suddenly getting so upset about an encounter that the party could definitely handle. Through the encounter things went well for the group. My girlfriend halfway through the encounter completely shut down after she missed an attack. This in particular upset one of the players, 20F, and that player was visibly trying not to burst in anger. After the session, the player wanted to speak to me alone and told me that my girlfriend's behavior is making the game not fun for her, but also for pretty much the entire party. She feels that my girlfriend is emotionally abusing me to get what she wants in-game. She also informed me that one of the players, 17F, explicitly did not want to come because of how my girlfriend had been acting. I told the player that I would talk to my girlfriend about her behavior that night. I did end up having a conversation with my girlfriend about it. She expressed she does not know why she gets so angry. Quick note, I have observed her behavior when I am not the one running the session and she does not at all act the same when someone else is running the session. This is where I need advice. She is a wonderful girlfriend and I care about her so much. I never got the feeling that she may be abusive. I do not know if I should kick her from my game, which I feel would just make everything worse. I am just a loss for what I should do next. I just do not know. TLDR, girlfriend is making D&D sessions bad for me and the party. I don't know if I should kick her from the group or try to make things better. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She's taking the game far too seriously, it's supposed to be fun. Reply. That is one of the things I had told her last night. I hope that she sees what I am coming from when I told her that. Commenter 2. I know it's gonna suck and be uncomfortable but you've gotta just have a straight up honest conversation with her about this. She's behaving spoiled, entitled, and overall with poor sportsmanship. No one wants to play with someone behaving like that. Explain to her that she's making other people uncomfortable and that soon she'll no longer be welcome to play. Hopefully she'll be receptive, rational, mature and adjust her behavior. You guys have not been dating long and at this point you're starting to learn more about the person she is beyond the honeymoon stage. Her entitled attitude and abusive language towards you will not be limited to D&D. It will start to seep into other circumstance wherein she doesn't get her way. So if she flips out and totally non-receptive to your respectful approach, consider ending the relationship. And don't think of it as breaking up because of a game, think of it as breaking up because she has a shitty attitude and uses anger to get what she wants. You sound like a kind dude, you don't need that shit. Reply. I will try to see if that attitude starts showing up outside of games. So far I have not really noticed it. She tends to be needy if anything, but that for me is not that much of an issue. Update. This update is being written the morning after a pretty great session with the group I am running for. I spoke to her about her behavior and we have worked it out. I did tell her that I really do not want that sort of behavior in my games and she understood. The next few days she kinda moped around because she thought the rest of the party would hate her, but after she talked to them on Discord, she felt better. She told me that she would try to take the games less seriously. The next session we had, which was last night, I made it clear to the whole party about new ground rules I wanted to set. Mostly so that nothing like what happened in the previous post would happen again, but also to make sure everyone knew I was no longer going to tolerate that behavior. The party as a whole seemed on board with it and we got started playing. My girlfriend had some actual fun and the rest of the party also had some good laughs. It personally felt really good to see everything running so smoothly. My girlfriend after the session asked me how she was and I told her that she was fine and that her attitude in the game was great. It seems to me that she will be trying her best to do better. She did seem interested in possibly talking to a therapist about how stressed she has been feeling. I told her that I would support her either way and if she really wanted to go see one then we would figure something out for her to go. Thank you all for the advice. It really helped me out with this. TLDR, all is well, and looking like it is getting better. Edit, thank you for all of your support. Stories number 15. Aita for refusing to spend another dime on stepkids and step-grands. I, 38F, and husband, 50M, have been married for 10 years and have a 1-year-old daughter together. He has a son, 30M, and daughter, 28F, from a previous marriage. Since my husband and I have been together, I have always bought his children birthday presents, Christmas presents, and gifts cards every holiday. They have always made snood comments about me being too festive. But my love language is gift giving. Well, they both have children now. His son has 3 children under the age of 5, and his daughter has twin 2-year-old daughters. This past Christmas his daughter and her husband hosted our family Christmas party. During the gift exchange each household exchanged the gift they bought for the other households. For context, his children have never bought Christmas presents for me, which I am fine with. I have always been the one to purchase the gifts for my stepchildren and my step-grandchildren. My husband gives the adult kids gift cards. So while the gifts were being passed out, it quickly became apparent that this year they not only didn't buy anything for me but not as for my 1-year-old daughter, their half-sister. So everyone at the party had gifts to open: my husband, my stepson and his wife, their 3 sons, my stepdaughter, her husband and twin daughters, had all bought for each other, and I had bought for all of them, and not one person bought anything for their baby sister. I gathered my things and my daughter and we left. Afterwards, I told my husband that I had never been made feel like a part of the family, and that's one thing, but for them to exclude their own half-sister who is part of their blood is a complete different thing. I told him I will never spend a dime on his family because they are not mine. Also, they decided to do a family photo shoot and didn't include my daughter. Aita. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your husband never said anything to you never getting gifts from them. What was your husband's reaction to your child getting no gifts? What was his reaction to what you told him? Your husband is as much a problem it seems. Reply. No, my husband never commented on them never getting anything for me. But he did say he was upset with how they treated the baby. But not to them. He hasn't brought it up to his adult children. Yes, he is part of the problem. He has never set boundaries with his children nor advocated for equal respect. Commenter 2. No more gifts. You tried, but you're done with them. After 10 years, you'd think they'd get a clue. Just curious, were you the reason your husband broke up with his ex-wife? If so, that may be why they are so hostile. And, honestly, I'd write them both a letter and explain that you have been handling gifts for your husband's family for 10 years, but will no longer be doing so after the way they treated their half-sister during the holidays. Any gift requests, etc., should be directed to your husband. And your husband is an ass for letting them get away with this BS for 10 years. Let him know that he's on his own from now on for birthdays and holidays. You're done with them. Reply. No, he and their mother divorced when his son, 30M, was 7 and daughter, 28F, was 5. He and I started dating when they were 16 and 18. Update. Well, I had a long talk with my husband again, after reading all the responses I got. His opinion is that his children have no opinion of our age difference, however they just don't consider me part of their family, and he doesn't think that they look at our daughter as their sister. Which I will completely respect because they are entitled to their own opinions as well as their own feelings. With me respecting their feelings comes, they're no longer part of my family. I will act accordingly as just their father's wife. As for my daughter, she is just that, my daughter. Valentine's Day has come and gone, and I did not get a thing for his children or grandchildren. I splurged on my daughter. And it felt really great. I did remind him a week before Valentine's Day that it was coming up and that his grandkids would probably be expecting something. He neither bought anything for his children nor his grandchildren, nor our daughter, and he didn't buy anything for me as well. He made a comment about feeling some type of way of the separation between me and his family on almost as though it was my own decision. And I quickly reminded him that I am just respecting the wishes of his family and that they belong to him and they are nothing to me. In short, this marriage, most likely will not last for multiple reasons, not just the issues of this post. Also, I failed to leave out a key detail. He was married to another woman between his children's mother and mine and his marriage. And according to him that woman treated his children very, very poorly. I don't know her, so I can't speak about her. I only know what he told me, and that story is completely one-sided. He also thinks that maybe the reason why his children treat me the way they do is due to past traumas from his second wife. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. There isn't a world where the father didn't bring a piece of shit home and not give a fuck how it affected his family. Not a fucking chance anything else happened. This guy's a douchebag, and either wealthy enough to keep scoring women despite his personality, or really fucking good looking but completely dead behind the eyes. OOP has bad taste in men. Reply. He isn't wealthy, he and I both make upper middle class incomes. He presents himself as an amazing man in the beginning, everyone who knows him speaks about what a great guy he is. I did too. About 2 years into our marriage I began to see some red flags, and I was already in love so ignored them. But now that I have my own child to think about, I cannot ignore them anymore. Commenter 2. He sounds like a narcissist tbh. Reply. I have often thought the same. I saw a bit of the same behavior in one of his children at first and then realized the behavior had derived from my husband. But I'm not a psychiatrist, so it's just an opinion. Update 2. so IFB Messenger called his second ex-wife last night. I wasn't sure if she would even want to talk with me, beings that I'm the new wife. But she did, and we had a pleasant conversation. She disclosed that she and his son, adolescent at the time, never had any issues. But that his daughter, also adolescent at the time, was a bit difficult. Think, princess mentality. She told me stories where my husband had blatantly disregarded her feelings, when it came to his daughter treating her poorly. She said his daughter always made it clear that she was the queen of her daddy's castle. She eventually separated herself from interacting with his kids, which took a toll on their marriage. She also disclosed that she had found out that in the beginning of his and my relationship that he was spicy sleeping with his supervisor. This led me to confront my husband, and after hours of denial he finally admitted. For context, last summer, I caught him sexting his supervisor. I told him to leave, but we had a new baby. We started going to marriage counseling for the infidelity, and he swore he disclosed everything to me. But he never told me they had previously been solely involved, even during the first few months of our relationship. Now, I'm supposed to believe that after 9 years just out of the blue they started sting at random, but nothing has continued to go on between all this time we've been married. Needless to say, I contacted a divorce attorney this morning. I'll keep you guys updated on the progress if my attorney feels like it will not have an impact on my case. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Damn, you really cracked open Pandora's box with that FB call. That ex-wife basically handed you the full documentary series on your husband's past drama, and the plot twists just kept coming. Honestly, the spicy sleeping revelation on top of the sting. Yeah, that's a hard pass. Good on you for lawyering up. Sounds like this dude fumbled a whole marriage twice with the same playbook. Wishing you a smooth exit and a future free of princess tantrums and workplace scandals. Reply. Actually fumbled 3 marriage because according to his second wife, she was his AP during his first marriage. The man is a habitual cheating narcissist, and I am left thinking, who the fuck did I marry? Commenter 2. Could a kind soul please explain what spicy sleeping means? Google Urban Dictionary isn't helping, sad face. Reply. Soul intercourse. I'm new to Reddit and not sure what their guidelines or restrictions are with certain words. A coworker of mine suggested I post the question AITA and see what the majority of the people think after what took place at a family Christmas party concerning my husband's children. Stories number 16. AITA for telling my friend she can't bring her toddler to my child-free wedding. I, 27F, am getting married in a few months, and my fiance and I decided early on that we wanted a child-free wedding. Not because we hate kids, we just wanted the evening to be more formal and relaxed, especially since we're paying for it ourselves and keeping it small. We made sure to include adults only on the invitations and even followed up personally with a few guests who have kids. One of my close friends, Maya, has a 2-year-old daughter. When she got the invite, she immediately texted me asking if she could bring her kid, saying she wouldn't be able to find a sitter for that weekend. I reminded her that the wedding is child-free and said I totally understand if that means she can't come, no hard feelings at all. She didn't take it well. She said I was being exclusionary and inconsiderate to parents, and that a real friend would make exceptions. I told her this isn't about her personally, it's a boundary we've set for everyone. Even some of our own family members had to make arrangements for their kids. Now she's upset and telling other mutual friends that I'm prioritizing aesthetic over relationships. One of our friends even said, "Come on, it's just one kid, what harm would it do?" But I feel like if I make an exception for her, it wouldn't be fair to everyone else who respected the rule. So, AITA for sticking to my child-free wedding and telling her no. Stories number 17. My 21M, ex-girlfriend, 19F, committed suicide. I'm a firefighter and had found her body. Edit. I know it's a roller coaster of a story and it's almost unbelievably bad, so I know people may feel it's fake. But a 30-second Google search with the info in this story finds news articles about it online. When I was 16 years old, a junior in high school, I was a huge nerd. The only thing I would do is play WoW and run track. That year I made a friend on the track team named Eric who would invite me to parties. I was hesitant and kind of awkward, but I started to hang out with his friends and go to his parties. That got me out of my shell a lot. I finally had a life, but retained to my awkward self. In his friend group I met a girl named Lydia. She was kind, a great artist, and extremely empathetic. She worked at Rite Aid, a drugstore, and when she found out one of her coworkers couldn't afford school supplies for her son, Lydia took half of her pay and gave it to her to help her coworker's son out. Lydia saw the best in me. Behind my awkward and nerdy exterior she saw someone who wanted to be accepted. She liked me a lot and wanted to be with me. During this time junior prom was approaching, and so I asked her to be my date and she said yes, and we ended up dating not long after. It was great for a while. To have someone interested in me was a new feeling. But not long after problems arose. She had a lot of mental health issues relating to depression and she would take issues she had and put it on me. We were on and off because of it due to her not trusting me or her feeling like I don't have time for her. I was a good student and would focus on school and it didn't go well with her. The worst story I have is one time we broke up and I was going to a party with a different group of friends. She messaged me that day asking to talk about things and I invited her to the party. She then got with someone else there right in front of me. It was devastating and really starting to affect my mental health too. There was one point where she ended up going to the hospital for suicidal thoughts and I was there for her and that made her fall in love with me. Before she treated me as disposable and just like all the other guys, but this was concrete how I care. She from then on treated me better, but the sediment of mental abuse stuck with me. Senior year I joined my local fire department and ended up going to fire school. I was back to having no life because fire school was Tuesday nights and Saturday for 7 months. On Friday I'd go to bed early cause I would need to be up at 6 a.m. for a fire school and I would get back at 5 p.m. and fall asleep cause I was physically exhausted. The argument started again because of how busy I was and I broke it off. Let's fast forward to my sophomore year of college. I'm going to school in NH, I live in NJ, and she messaged me on Facebook telling me her one regret is how bad she treated me and apologized. I forgave her because I understand her mental health issues and it taught me about red flags in relationships. From then on she would message me randomly about little things, such as how I was doing, what video games I'm playing etc. Every conversation always ended I her trying to meet up again and I didn't want to. I didn't trust the situation. The last text I got was this January when me and her talked about Fallout 4 and how she wouldn't play it because she didn't want to see dog meat get hurt because she loved dogs. I told her, you will protect him with your life until you find out he's immortal, and that's the last thing I ever got to say to her. February 15, 2018, I wake up for my 9:40 a.m. class. While getting ready I get a fire call. I get text messages from dispatch in case your pager is broken, at 9:10 a.m. It stated, missing person 19YO female, Lydia's address. My heart sank. I called my fire chief and he told me to contact her friends to see where she might be, but he also told me she might not be alive. I go into a conference room at my university and start calling and messaging all of her friends. They gave me a rundown of the past 6 months. She started dating a guy named Jim who was a heroin addict. He abused her mentally and physically and gave her drugs she has never done before. He also stole thousands from her. She was saving up for a trip to India to see her friend who is studying abroad there and he just took all of it. She stayed with him because she was just lonely and he gave her attention. It made me sick. She got out of the hospital for suicidal thoughts. Before she went missing she was at his place. Dispatch got Jim's address and phone number and he played dumb about everything during the interrogation. Once I was done with the interviews I started driving all the way home to NJ from NH to help with the search. While stuck in CT traffic I get a call from my chief. You don't have to come home anymore, we found her. That's great news. It's not Mr. Alpha Nu, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but she hung herself. He was a lot nicer than this, I'm just paraphrasing. I was distraught, and even worse than that I got calls from her friends not too long after asking for updates. I had to tell her best friends that she hung herself in the woods. It was heartbreaking to me to have to mourn and tell her friends what happened. That night I drank at my firehouse bar and got hammered because I didn't know how else to cope with what happened that day. My fire department buddies were there taking care of me and they had one job, don't let me see dispatch notes because it contained texts, where the body was found, and Jim's address and number. But I snuck away and read everything. The last text she sent was, "This is not your fault," to Jim. Who didn't respond. He didn't fucking respond when Lydia was suicidal and basically said she will kill herself. If you're still reading, this story gets worse, I'm sorry. I go to Lydia's family and it turns out Lydia left me a suicide note. It stated that she always loved and missed me and to live a good life. I was a mess. I can't believe I didn't meet up with someone who cared so much about me. I can't believe Jim and how fucked up he is. I should have messaged her stating she's better than him and to leave that scumbag. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm very sorry you're going through this. Please try not to be hard on yourself, though. Mental health issues are one hell of an enemy. Coming from a girl who knows. Sending all the positive vibes I have. Reply. Thank you. At first I was hurt on myself until I talked to one of my friends. He told me how she didn't write that note to make you feel bad, but because you made a good impact on your life. And that really stuck with me. Commenter 2. Maryland firefighter here, check my post history. If your department or union has an employee assistance program, EAP, or a critical incident stress management team, or department chaplain counseling office, please contact them. This is exactly what they are here for. Reply: this wasn't during a break, so I had to go back to school the following day. My chief said I should talk to them, but I ended up using my university's counseling services instead. Everything has been going great with that. Update June 17, 2019, 6 months later. It's been a bit over 6 months since I posted that story, and I want to give you a quick update on my life. I'm on mobile, so I apologize if it makes it harder to read. TLDR: my ex-girlfriend got into an abusive relationship with a drug addict. She was dealing with depression for a while and killed herself. I am a firefighter in NJ, but go to school in NH. I received the call and conducted research to find her. I drove back down to help with the search. We found her body in the woods and she wrote me a suicide note. Where I left off was me upset about the situation and upset with the world, and most importantly, upset with myself. I was in a dark place for a while after that. I drank and shunned out everyone but my friends who were helping me. For a good amount of time I distanced myself from any girl who I met. The funeral wasn't long after and Jim didn't even show up. I'm not sure if he was invited, but it just shows the type of guy he is. I didn't feel comfortable with dating anyone, let alone even hooking up with them. It felt wrong and I was scared I would get close to someone and lose them again. The depression I felt was destructive. My chief reached out to me not long after because I never told him how I knew her. He asked me to see a therapist and that he can set up a visit at the firehouse. I was in NH, so I told him he'll see my college counseling center and send him confirmation. I lied, I sent him a fake email and he believed me. I had this notion that I don't need help because I help people. After 3 months I was still depressed, but I started to talk to girls again. I met this really nice girl named Sarah. We talked and even hooked up a couple times. After a month and a half she asked if we could start dating. I told her I couldn't. I told her my story and said I don't feel comfortable being close with anyone. She took it well and still wanted to talk, but I couldn't anymore. I felt as if she crossed a line in my mind and we couldn't go back. I didn't want to be close with anyone like that again. Fast forward another month, my friend Kelsey asked if I wanted to go to her sorority formal with one of her friends. I accepted, and that's when I met Kristen. Kristen was perfect, she was really sweet and a great date. We ended up talking for a while and this time I decided it was time to be proactive. I opened up to her about what happened to me and I told her I want to take it very slow. She completely understood. Instead of scaring her off, she helped me more than anyone has ever had. She convinced me that avoiding therapy is a bad move, and that there is no shame in seeking counseling. So I made an appointment and went. The therapist told me about a suicide prevention Oregon campus that I should join and tell my story. I joined them and they had suicide prevention events where people tell their stories to help others. I did my first story and Kristen and a bunch of my friends went to support me. It was one of the most touching moments of my life, standing up on that stage and seeing all those people. I continued doing these events and Kristen went to every single one. After 6 months I told her I'm ready to start dating, but to understand that I may be distant at first because I'm not used to this. She understood. We've been together for 8 months and she's amazing. She's nicest and most supportive person I've ever met. Every time I'm in NJ I go to Lydia's house and support her mom. On Christmas I got a crew to come to her house and deliver presents to her mom's boyfriend's autistic son and her nephews. The way I was able to get relief from my pain was helping others. And if it wasn't for Kristen I wouldn't have the guidance to do it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm happy for you, but I feel a little bad for Sarah. Commenter 2. I'm more concerned for Kristen. Guys being too tough for therapy but then unloading all that emotional work onto their female romantic partners is classic, but not at all fun to be on the receiving end of. Commenter 3. So you had been dating Kristen for 2 months when you made the other thread? Commenter 4. When he made the other thread, he was revering to February 15, 2018. So with the time periods he gives us it roughly fits. He didn't talk to girls for 2 to 3 months, then took around 6 months till they started dating. That would make it October or November when they started dating, which is now 8 months ago. His first post is 6 months old, so yes, they were together 2 months already. Maybe he shared it also because IRL he learned that sharing his story can help other people. Stories number 18. We bought a house we never saw in person, sunk everything into it, and now we're walking away with nothing. Dumb thing the first. We bought a home 3 years ago for $535,000, dumping in every penny we'd saved for over a decade. No fallback. No cushion. All in. Dumb thing the second, we never saw it in person. I was out of state, spent 2 exhausting weeks touring homes and getting outbid over and over. I had to get back to work, we were burned out, and when this one popped up, we did a FaceTime tour with our realtor and just said yes. Dumb thing the third, a year ago, we realized we'd made a mistake. Great house, but wrong location. So we listed it at a price our Then, realtor swore was right, factoring in $50,000 plus in meaningful upgrades. Market laughed in our face. Crickets. Took it off after 90 days and ate the sunk costs. Dumb thing the fourth, we tried again last month. New realtor, lower price, $15K below what we paid. Tons of activity, zero offers. Dropped it another $25,000. Still nothing. We're now listing it at a point where, after closing costs, we will walk away with nothing. No down payment, no equity, no recouping improvements. Nothing, and the worst part? I still don't know if it'll sell, we just want out. We're in a rural area that clearly no one wants to buy into. We overpaid and I know it. I keep telling myself, it's just money, but I don't know if I'll ever stop regretting this. Anyone else been here? How do you move on? Stories number 19. I need to tell this to someone but I'm not ready to tell my mom. When I was 14, I was talking to a senior that went to my high school. He lived in my neighborhood and seemed really sweet and trustworthy, so I befriended him. I know, it's weird being friends with an 18-year-old when you're 14, but I didn't care because I was stupid. One day, I went over his house for the first time after he took me on what he called a date, McDonald's, so we could hang out. While we were there, he kept rubbing my thighs and told me I was mature for my age and that I had nice breasts, which made me really uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything because I really liked him and didn't want to lose him. Eventually, I started hanging out at his house more often. I was only able to go because I kept lying to my mom. During one of these meetups, he took my shirt off and left hickeys all over my chest and started calling me his girlfriend. By then, I should have stopped going over his house but I didn't, and eventually, we ended up having sex. It hurt so much and I told him that he needed to stop but he kept going. I felt so dirty when he was done and swore to myself it wouldn't happen again, but it did. Over and over again. The sexual contact only stopped when I told him I hadn't had my period and he accused me of trying to trap him. I didn't know what to do. I thought it was just another irregular period, but my friends convinced me to take a test, so I stole one. I'm not proud of it, but the Walgreens wouldn't have let me buy one without becoming suspicious. I took the test and it came back positive. I don't know what to do. I'm starting to show and I can't afford to be a single mother at 14. I don't even know how to tell my mom. Stories number 20. Aita for expressing my disgust at a dish from my girlfriend's culture. My 27M girlfriend, 24F, is Brazilian and since we got together she's been introducing me to her country's cuisine, and I've loved everything she's made and I've tried so far. But last night she took me to Brazilian steakhouse and at some point she asked the waiter for a dish that they didn't serve here, but apparently is a staple in Brazilian barbecues. It was only later she explained to me that she was asking for chicken hearts. And because they didn't have it, she later told me she would try to find it in the Brazilian store she usually goes to and make it at home, but I told her not to bother and that I wasn't interested in trying it. She couldn't understand why I wasn't interested, so I told her that the whole idea of eating chicken hearts sounded a bit icky. That's the word I remember saying. She later said I told her it was disgusting, so I can't be sure, but the intention is the same anyway. And she got really upset and told me about how eating organs is not unusual in many cultures and that even if I didn't want to try it, framing it as disgusting was disrespectful on my part. But I only said anything because she kept pushing for an explanation, so I don't know what she expected me to do, to lie. Stories number 21. I'm inheriting $1 million. My godmother died and we were incredibly close. She had no bio children and so everything she's got is going to me and my bro 50-50. She also left a little for charities. I guess I'm just on here to say holy fucking shit, this is a lot of money and it's hard to wrap my brain around. She told my mom she wanted to die soon so as to not waste any more of the inheritance. She had a huge heart and wanted to set us up well for life. I'm gonna put a lot into retirement and a good chunk in savings and then I'm buying a Sprinter van. She knew it was my dream to drive around the country. I'm open to any words of advice as the money will start to come through soon. Oh, and I'm winning a big lawsuit, so it's just a lot of dollar and I'm young and had never really imagined this kind of money coming in before I hit 40. Also Sut wanna say she was a teacher and didn't make much but was so smart with her money she was still able to leave quite a chunk for each of us. Now please wish me luck. My mother is the executor of the estate and a bit of a control freak, so any suggestions I give she shoots down. She's a lot to handle, but hopefully she gets me what is mine without drama. ADD. For some extra context, yes, I come from an affluent family, but no, I didn't learn great financial literacy skills from my parents. My parents just gave me money when I needed it, without teaching me how to really steward money and save for retirement. So now, I am really trying to stand on my own 2 feet without them and use this money in a responsible way. Having access to your family's money doesn't mean that you are inherently good at managing it. In fact, some of us are bad at managing money. We learned money is a never-ending supply, which is not a helpful view as an adult. So criticize me all you want, but yeah, at the age of almost 38 I'm working with what's called a financial therapist and a financial planner to have a better relationship with money. I came here to genuinely engage and ask questions and appreciate all those who responded kindly and with actual help. There's no need to be rude, unkind, or critical. Keep in mind I am also grieving a major death. Inheritance is a double-edged sword. Reddit is not my financial planner, but it is a great place to get ideas I can bring to my FP. Stories number 22. My wife went out to lunch with a guy she met at the gym. I think this is a huge no-no. My 39M wife, 39F, and I have been together for 14 years, married for 11. I've been cheated on in the past several times, so I'm very sensitive to any behavior that could be construed that way. My wife goes to the same gym 5 days a week and is always there when they open at 5 a.m. It's a serious thing for her. I personally go 3 days a week, but a different gym. Needless to say, conversations have been struck up with her by various people for the last 5 years or so. One guy in particular who is divorced, and 15 years older, started being friendly to her a while back, not sure how long exactly. A conversation arose about a good lunch special at a steakhouse in town, and it became an ongoing thing. You gotta try this pork chop, etc. Well, on Friday afternoon she went to lunch with this gentleman, and then when she came home she mentioned that her leftovers were from this place and that she went with a friend. Never said anything about a work friend, so I pressed a bit more for curiosity's sake. She told me what happened and swore up and down nothing happened, and she's not interested in that way. I will say our marriage has had its ups and downs, but the ups were way higher than the downs. My wife has given me zero reason in 14 years not to trust her, however the circumstances are quite suspect. What does everyone think? Edit. So many comments. I am trying to catch up, but I have very little time. Stories number 23. Aita for telling my wife I want a divorce after she gave me a concussion. After work I was playing with my son and went to the kitchen to throw out a diaper. When I walked into the room my wife started shouting at me, claiming I hadn't been doing anything since I got home. Mind you, I had just spent 2 hours cleaning the kitchen, washing dishes, picking up the living room and putting my daughter to bed before going to the living room to play with my son while I continued to pick up. I was frustrated by her comment and asked her what she meant and outlined everything I had been doing. I left the room and started to walk up the stairs to my living room. I was struck in the side of head with a sealed cardboard box weighing about 2 pounds. This was from about 15 feet away and thrown at full force, so I was dazed for a moment. After confronting her about why she did this, she continued to yell at me and didn't show any concern. Upset and in quite a bit of pain I went to sit with my son and process what had just happened. After about 45 minutes I was experiencing a growing headache, and having some problems with the muscles in the right side of my face and jaw. I gave her my son and told her I had to go to the ER because something wasn't right. I ended up spending the night in a hotel, and the next day began contacting resourced and scheduling follow medical and mental health appointments. The headache lasted 8 days and I experienced a wide range of symptoms related to head injury. I missed over a full week of work, and it has been a pretty difficult experience navigating all my emotions while recovering, and experiencing some bizarre cognitive issues. Needless to say, I've been keeping my distance from my wife while I've been recovering. Over the last few years I've also been dealing with regular emotional abuse in the form of insults, constant belittling, and threats of divorce. This is probably the 6th incident of violent behavior from her in the last 7 years, and the only time she had used an object, and I have serious concern that she could have just as easily thrown something that could have broken my skull. I'm now seriously concerned about what will happen next time, and I'm not willing to wait and find out only to realize I should have left long ago. She has no diagnosed mental health disorders, but how out of control she is when she is angry is now very alarming, and it seems to be escalating. Additionally, she refuses to apologize for any of her words or actions since I met her, even after a diagnosed concussion. All she will say regarding this event are things like, "You know, I didn't mean it, I can't aim that well." Over the last week I was essentially living in a blacked-out bedroom and listening to audiobooks between my frequent naps. Up to yesterday I have avoided engaging her in conversation, or anything that seems like I'm being baited into an argument. I don't have the mental or emotional capacity to handle an emotionally charged conversation, and wanted to focus on my recovery. Last night I told her I've been walking on eggshells around her for the last year. I'm not comfortable being around her and don't see there being any way to mend the relationship after this. I just don't see myself being able to emotionally open up to someone who has injured me, ever. Her response has been to schedule marriage counseling, and she keeps making strange comments about how I have to be willing to make it work for counseling to be effective. She don't seem to have the ability to understand that this won't ever be water under the bridge, and that she's destroyed what was left of our relationship, which isn't much as there has been no physical intimacy in 2 years due to some medical complications from the pregnancy and birth of our son. She refuses any physical contact, and lately I have been struggling with the idea of continuing to live this strange celibate lifestyle for the sake of maintaining a stable home for my children. I've been open about this with my close friends and mentors, and know I need to leave because domestic violence rarely stops, and I want better for myself and my children. I decided to pursue divorcing her, and I think a large part of telling so many people is to force my own hand due to the embarrassment and shame that staying with her would cause. I told the therapist this and that I want his help navigating towards this goal, but I'm having a very hard time. I'm struggling with the idea of tearing my family apart and the effect it will have on my 4-year-old daughter. Today she was being unusually sweet and wanted to sit with me. When I refused, she made me out to be the asshole, and accused me of not wanting to try. I feel like I'm being heavily manipulated and my desire to be the peacemaker and nurturer is being twisted against me. When I mentioned this, she got highly offended, and accused me of wanting to destroy our family. This has been a wild experience and has been difficult to process. I have no experience with emotional or physical abuse in a relationship prior to this. Am I being the asshole for refusing to entertain opening up to her, or participate in couples therapy due to fear of being manipulated? Should I stick to what I know to do intellectually, and totally ignore my emotions and stick to my initial instinct to leave her? Follow up, I can't believe the level of support I've gotten since posting this. Most of you shared the same message, and I really appreciate that. There was quite a bit of very thoughtful advice and many points I hadn't considered. I've made up my mind to stick to my intuition and move on from this relationship. My biggest concern is now for my children, and I hadn't really considered what would happen to them if she didn't have me as an outlet for her anger. This afternoon I spoke to a highly recommended attorney and she agreed to represent me and is helping to file a protection order. I really appreciate the effort that everyone put into helping me get my head straight, and intend to follow up with several of you directly. Stories number 24. Aita for praising my daughter's stepmother despite knowing how terrible she treats my ex's other children. I, 37F, have a daughter, Lori, 8F, with my ex-husband, John, 45M. This is our only child together, but John has 2 other kids from his first marriage, Jane, 17F, and Alex, 15M. Jane and Alex's mom passed away when they were 5 and 3, and I met John when they were 7 and 5. In the beginning everything started out well. I made it clear to Jane and Alex that I had no intention of replacing their mom and made the effort to make sure her memory was kept alive in the house. The kids seemed very receptive to me, so I happily accepted John's proposal. It wasn't until I had Lori that things started to turn for the worse. When Lori was a baby I really wanted her first word to be mama, so John and I got into the habit of referring to me as mama, and Jane and Alex started doing it too. I never asked them to do that, and they only did it when Lori was in earshot. Unfortunately, they did that once in front of their maternal grandparents when I was dropping the kids off at their place, and they went ballistic. They got it into Jane and Alex's head that I was tricking them into slowly turning them away from their mom, and it all went downhill from there. Jane and Alex turned on me and became very defiant and disrespectful. John and I tried to have talks and do therapy sessions, but it went nowhere thanks to the influence of their maternal side of the family. Eventually John decided to temporarily cut contact, but the grandparents sued and won grandparents' rights, and it really came to bite John and I. Alex and Jane became worse, and went so far as to tamper with my shampoo to make my hair fall out, call me inappropriate names in public, destroy my things, and became very rude to me parents. It was rough and I honestly tried my best, but when Jane spread a lie at school that prompted her teachers to contact the authorities, I was done. As soon as my name was cleared I filed for divorce. John was heartbroken and begged me to stay, but I just couldn't live with the absence of peace. Jane, Alex, and their maternal grandparents celebrated my departure, and while I was hurt I was also relieved of not having to deal with the drama anymore. Shortly after the divorce John met Kate, 49F, and while I was cautious at first she showed me that she was a responsible and caring figure towards Lori, so her and I have a respectful relationship. I guess John wasn't willing to take the same arrow twice, so when Alex and Jane started acting up, he sent them to a boarding school where Kate had an in with the administration. He just dropped them off there under the guise of it being a week-long camp for the spring and never picked them up. Their grandparents were furious, but legally they couldn't do anything. This past weekend was Lori's birthday, and because I was so busy with work, I am up for a promotion, Kate agreed to plan and host, and I was extremely grateful. She never made me feel like I was less of a mom and still made me look like a hero in Lori's eyes. When Lori asked for a picture with just the 3 of us I happily agreed and then posted it on social media with a message saying how happy I was that my daughter had another adult who loved her. My former step-in-laws, Jane and Alex's grandparents, saw it and berated me for praising Kate in any way when she was clearly terrible to Jane and Alex. I told them that I'm sure that Kate had her reasons, and if they wanted me to care about Jane and Alex just as much as I do for Lori, then they shouldn't have pushed me away. I've spoken to a few of my friends about this and some of them think that I'm in the wrong, so I have to ask. Aita, Stories number 25. Aita for telling my husband I'll divorce him if he doesn't agree to a fertility test. My husband and I have been married for a year now. Everything seemed fine until around the third month of our marriage when he suddenly woke me up in the middle of the night to say he wanted us to adopt a child. I was shocked, it felt so sudden and out of nowhere. I asked him why, and he said he just didn't want to deal with the stress of pregnancy and childbirth. I was confused, but I calmly told him that I would be the one carrying the child, not him. All I needed was his support, and that I was okay with going through pregnancy. He didn't like that response, but we let the topic go that night. Months later, he brought it up again, more insistent this time, still giving the same reason. I started to feel something was off. As time went on, his behavior began to change. He became distant, cold, and just, not himself. Every time I tried to talk to him, the conversation circled back to adopting a child. Then he pointed out it had been 8 months and I haven't gotten pregnant yet. I suggested we both get tested to check our fertility, he flat out refused. I went alone and got checked, and my doctor told me everything looked fine with me. I brought the test results home, hoping it would bring some relief, but he barely looked at them. No reaction. No support, no relief. I asked him again to please go for a test himself so we could move forward together, and he completely refused. He still keeps saying he just wants us to adopt. At this point, I feel like I'm living with a stranger. He avoids emotional conversations, barely talks to me, and the warmth in our home is gone. Last week, I told him directly that I couldn't keep living like this, and if he wouldn't agree to at least get tested, I would file for divorce. Later that evening, his best friend showed up, and after talking with my husband, he pulled me aside and asked if I wasn't being too unreasonable by bringing up divorce over something like this. So, Aita for standing my ground and threatening divorce over this. Stories number 26. Aita for revealing the real reason I divorced my husband to his family. I was married to my ex-husband for just over a year. Everything seemed fine at first, but 3 months into our marriage, he brought up something that completely threw me off. He told me that he enjoyed our sex life quite alright, but he wants to spice it up by having a threesome. I was so shocked. I asked if he was joking, but he said he was serious. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that at all and went to bed thinking it was a one-off, uncomfortable conversation. The next week, he brought it up again. This time, he said he had already pulled a woman who was ready to join us in the evening. I couldn't believe it. I again told him I'm not doing that, and during the evening hours, a random woman literally walked into our home. He introduced her as the person for the threesome. I was disgusted, embarrassed, and honestly scared. I told him I wasn't interested, and after some time the woman left. After that day, he completely changed, he started staying out late, barely came home, and emotionally checked out of the marriage. When I confronted him, his only response was, "I want a threesome." That's when I realized I couldn't do this anymore. I filed for divorce. Here's where things got messy. His family, especially his dad, loved our union and had high hopes for us. My family and his family were both shocked when the divorce was filed. His father called a meeting and asked me directly why I was divorcing his son. Turns out, my ex told them that I said he wasn't rich enough for me. I was furious at that lie. I didn't want to air our dirty laundry, but I couldn't let that false narrative stand, so I showed the chat messages where he was constantly pushing for a threesome. Now his friend Frank has called me to say I'm shameless and unwise for telling the family what really happened. That I should have kept it private. So, Aita for telling the truth about why I divorced my husband. Stories number 27. AIO to finding out my boyfriend's sister wasn't his sister. As of today, I am very upset and rethinking my entire 3 years relationship. But a part of me is also wondering if the situation wasn't that serious. So, Reddit, I'll let you be the judge of that. You've given good advice before, trust you'll do it again. For the entire 3 years, my boyfriend, whom we'll call Dustin, has had this sister, who we'll call Kay. Dustin and Kay have always been close. Kay always comes over here and hangs out with Dustin. Dustin, not me. In fact, I'm convinced she hates me. But more on that in a moment. Anyways, Kay and Dustin always go over to each other's houses, go out to dinner, and once even went on vacation, without me. Every single time Kay is around, she acts like I don't exist. I talk to her, she ignores me. She and Dustin hang out, I am quite literally a third wheel. Now, I never complained because I always thought, it's his sister, family comes first. Dustin at one point even cancelled our date plans to go bowling with Kay. Yes, without me. I decided to visit the old neighbor lady whom I help with yard work, and I'm telling her about Kay. Mind you, this lady has lived in this town since she was born. She knows everybody. Usually, I didn't confide in her about my life, but today was a bad day and I needed someone body. I tell her about Kay, and as I'm describing her the lady cuts me off and says, that's not his sister. She said that Kay is her coworker's daughter, and has no siblings. She has met Kay several times, and is very close friends with the coworker. Dustin came home to his bags packed at the door. I kicked him out and told him we were done. Dustin went on and on about how Kay is his best friend, he just didn't want to lose her, all this and that and a third. The thing is, Kay and Dustin really did seem like a brother-sister type. Aside from spending almost every day together, I never thought that anything romantic or sexual was happening between them. But I still found it very unacceptable. Now I am being slammed by Dustin and his family, saying I am way overreacting, need to talk it out, etc. So, Reddit, what do you think? Am I overreacting? I forgot to add, Dustin's parents are dead, and he rarely speaks to the rest of the family, he says, yet now they are coming after me, so I'm wondering if that was also a lie. Stories number 28. Aita for telling my husband I don't want his mom to come in our vacation with us. You can be honest, I'm okay with being an because my husband thinks I am. But you see, let me give you some background. Last year my MIL was having financial struggles and was going to be let go from her job. Her 2 daughters didn't offer to help, but my husband, being the kind man he is and with my okay, told her she could always move out to the west coast where we live. So she agreed, and she brought her 4 dogs and a bunch of her stuff and crammed it into our tiny 2-bedroom house. So in this tiny house there is 3 adults, 6 dogs, a 6-year-old, and we're expecting a baby in the fall. As of a few months ago, my SL wants to move out here and we explained that they should find their own place. We've looked at selling, but the market's in no place for that, but if it was just my husband and I and our kiddo, we would make it work, and when baby is old enough they could share a room until we can sell this house. We were planning to go on one last vacation before baby comes, and I made it clear I wanted it to be just the 3 of us. My husband said it would be rude to not invite her, and so he invited her. I was hoping because of her dogs she wouldn't go. But now she's making us talk to our neighbor who we are friendly with about watching her dogs, and she will pay. I was mad, and pregnancy hormones make it hard to hide my frustration. My husband told me I'm acting like a brat because if it was my mom I'd do the same thing, but I told him I wouldn't because my mom would understand. His mom, she wouldn't understand. She believes he can do no wrong and she believes she's entitled. I mean, this is the same person who got angry we went on a trip we planned before she moved here and didn't invite her. We can't even have discussions with her because she instantly gets defensive. I really just wanted a trip away from her with my little family before this baby comes, and I'm apparently the bad guy in being selfish. He told me I can be the bad guy and tell her that I don't want her to go, but I already told him before he invited her, and it's not my mom. I'm not the one with boundary issues. So Aita for telling him to tell her we don't want her to come. Update, I've read your comments and finally this morning had a breakdown. He asked me what was wrong and I just spit everything out and we talked things out. He is going to talk to the neighbor about watching the dogs, and he's going to convince the neighbor to just not do it because he also doesn't want her to go. He said that part of her reasoning for wanting to move here is to go on trips, and I do vaguely remember her saying that. We shall see. Stories number 29. I posted about my brother, and he disappeared. He texted me today. My brother Joe had been crashing on my couch after his wife Amanda left him. Their son, Jonah, said the R word at school. Turns out he learned it from a YouTuber Joe let him watch. Amanda had warned him before, asked him to screen stuff Jonah watched, but Joe always brushed it off. She'd had enough. She packed up and left. Joe came to me, but he was still acting like it wasn't a big deal. Still cracking jokes, still shrugging things off. I didn't know how to talk to him anymore without losing it, so I wrote about it here. Just to let it out. He found the post and left that same night without saying much. That was a few days ago. This morning, I got a text from him. Just said, I'm at a diner, can we talk? I didn't know what to expect. I was nervous, to be honest. But I went. He looked rough. Like he hadn't slept. Hoodie, messy hair, red eyes. We sat down and didn't say anything for a bit. Then he just said, I read what you wrote. All of it. I hated you for it. But I think I needed it. That hit me. I told him I wasn't trying to humiliate him. I just didn't know how to say any of that out loud without it turning into a fight. I was angry, yeah, but mostly I was scared. Watching him lose everything and still act like it didn't matter just broke something in me. He told me he's been thinking about all of it. That maybe he hides behind sarcasm and, it's not a big deal, because he doesn't know how to handle things when they are. He admitted that Amanda was right. That Jonah deserves better. That maybe this was the wake-up call he needed. We cried quietly at a diner booth, over cold coffee. He's not coming back to stay here. He found a room he can afford for now. He said he's going to give Amanda space and look for a therapist. Said he wants to be the kind of dad Jonah can actually rely on. The kind Amanda doesn't have to protect their son from. We're not suddenly fine. This didn't fix everything. But it was something. And after the last few days, something feels like a hell of a lot. If you're holding back on saying something to someone because you think it'll just explode everything, I get it. But sometimes silence does more damage. And sometimes the person you think won't hear you actually will. Thanks for reading. I needed to get this off my chest. Stories number 30. I'm done with relationships. Was told at 11:30 last night that my 39F partner, 39M, doesn't like me. He's done and has been done for a long time. He hates spending time with me and our child as a family, hates being around me in general. If he woke up in an ideal world, he'd never have met me. He wants me to move out and we will share custody. He doesn't want to speak to me at all unless it pertains to our child. He said he wants to physically harm me sometimes. I've been in bed, reeling all day. Scrambling to find a place to go ASAP. He just walked in to bring me food that I didn't ask for, and as he's leaving, he says, "I love you." I just felt like I needed to say that. So now, I'm sobbing uncontrollably. I feel blindsided. I feel sick. I feel devastated. I feel unsafe. I just want to wake up from this nightmare, except I'm not asleep. Between this man and my ex-husband, I am so thoroughly done with romantic relationships with men. Just venting. Thanks for reading if you made it this far. Stories number 31. My F21 boyfriend, M24, opened our relationship. Now that I've finally found someone, he wants to close it. We'll be updating soon. After talking to everyone, I plan to end things with my BF. Thank you for the clarity. I come from a small town where everyone knows each other. I was raised in a very strict Catholic household. I had a pretty sheltered life growing up, no dating, no parties, none of that stuff. So when I moved to the city for college, it was a whole new world for me. I had total freedom. That's when I met my boyfriend. He's a little older, and honestly, the most amazing person I had ever met. He taught me so much about life and love and made everything feel exciting. I was completely over the moon when we became a couple. We've been together for 3.5 years now. I had so many firsts with him. Naturally, I assumed we would get married. He was my one and only. Then about 8 months ago, he sat me down and told me he felt like our relationship was losing its spark. I was shocked because I thought we were doing really good. For a second, I thought he was about to break up with me. But instead, he said we should open up the relationship and explore polyamory. He said it's more normal now, and that it could actually help bring us closer. I was hurt. Like, really hurt. I couldn't believe he'd even ask me that. But I loved him too much. He's my first love. I didn't want to lose him. So I said yes. He made some rules like, no bringing other people into our beds, we live separately anyway, and to keep things away from places we'd usually go. But honestly, I didn't care about the rules. I couldn't even imagine being with someone else. I only wanted him. But that first month, things didn't get better. I saw him less and less. He was always busy. I checked his social media and saw he started hanging out with some girl. She posted him all the time. I was burning with jealousy, but I didn't say anything. When I did see him, he was sweet like always, but it started to feel like he was just trying to make up for not being around. I felt like I was the one doing all the work, planning stuff, texting first, chasing after him, holding on so tight while he felt far away. Then a few months ago, we were supposed to see a movie together, but he bailed on me last minute. I went anyway. While I was there, I ran into one of my friends, and she was with her older brother. We ended up watching the film together, Nosferatu, if you're wondering. Afterward, we grabbed some drinks and I started noticing how attractive and funny he was. I caught him looking at me a certain way too, like maybe he felt something too. I didn't pursue anything though, this was all so new to me. Liking someone else. That felt so weird. I wasn't used to anyone but my boyfriend. He eventually found me on Instagram, and we started talking. I told him about the open relationship and being poly, and he was super chill about it. He said he was happy to spend time with me without worrying about cheating. We started hanging out more, and honestly, I didn't feel so alone anymore. I didn't feel like I had to beg someone for love. Even the little time I spent with my boyfriend started to feel enough, because my heart didn't feel so empty anymore. One day, after we become close friends, he just kissed me on the lips. And it hit me I had feelings for him, sexual ones. We ended up hooking up not long after. It was amazing. I felt wanted. Cherished. He was so gentle, so generous. I couldn't get enough of him. It felt like he balanced me out in a way I didn't know I needed. I finally understood what being poly could really mean, loving more than one person in a way that felt real and full. I grew very attracted. We even joined the gym together and started working out. He's a busy guy but always made time for me, always invited me into his world and his hobbies. I felt special. And giddy. Then this week, my boyfriend comes to me and says, "I think we should close the relationship and focus on each other." I was confused. I asked him, why? Things are going really good for us. He said it's time to think about the future and building something serious. Then he brought up religion. "You're Catholic, you should understand. If you want this to last, it has to just be the two of us." When I hesitated, he started guilt-tripping me, like I was doing something wrong. Like I wasn't thinking about us. I love him. I really do. But now, I feel confused. I feel upset. I didn't ask for any of this. He opened the door, and I just followed because I loved him. And now that I found a little peace, a little joy, he wants to shut it all down. It feels unfair. Just wanted this off my chest. Also throw away. TLDR, boyfriend opened up relationship to become closer with me, instead it got worse. I finally start seeing someone else like he does now. He wants to close it, making me feel bad. Update, my F21 boyfriend, M24, opened our relationship. Now that 4 finally found someone, he wants to close it. TLDR from previous post, my boyfriend opened up relationship to become closer with me and revive our spark. Out of fear of losing him I agreed. It didn't get better. He started hooking up with a girl straight away and I waited for him, drowning in jealousy and begging for his time. Eventually I finally start seeing someone else like he did. I'm in a happier place now. My BF wants to close our relationship so we can focus on our future. You can read the full post on my page. The TLDR for this update is at the end. The update. Thank you to everyone who offered advice, clarity, and support. I wanted to share where things stand now after having some difficult conversations. I spoke to my boyfriend and told him I don't want to close the open relationship. I've grown to really enjoy dating the other guy, and it's not something I agreed to just to experiment. I told him it should be a joint decision. You can't just open and close a relationship as you please, especially when someone else's feelings are involved. I also told him I was incredibly disappointed. He brought up my faith, knowing how much trauma and guilt I've carried from my religious upbringing and how felt manipulative and unfair. He didn't respond to my comments about religion, but instead said, "If you want a future with me, this needs to end, or we're done." I told him, "Then it's done." He got heated and said I was throwing away nearly 4 years of our relationship for a guy I've only been seeing for a few months, and tried to make me feel guilty. But I reminded him that he was the one who lost the spark, who wanted to sleep with other women, and who opened the relationship in the first place, not me. I just agreed because I loved him and hoped he would realize I'm the only one for him. I didn't ask for this. After some time, he calmed down. We had a long, emotional conversation. He cried. He apologized. He told me he should have ended things instead of trying to fix our relationship with polyamory. He admitted he still loves me and that seeing me happy with someone else made him feel jealous, even though he knew he had no right to be. He said he probably deserves the pain, and he respects my decision to end it. We hugged and agreed that even though our relationship is over, the first 2 years were beautiful. We'll always have a place in each other's hearts, even though relationship has run its course. Later, I met up with other guy I've been seeing. I told him everything. I ended things with my boyfriend because I didn't want to let him go. I told him I'm not rushing into anything, that I don't expect him to give me all his time or energy right away, but I'd love to date and see where things go. That's when he opened up and told me that watching me stay with my boyfriend while we were seeing each other was hard. He said it hurt him, but he kept quiet because he liked me so much and he knew what he was getting into. He never intended to be in a polyandrous relationship, but only agreed to it because he really wanted to be with me and didn't want to lose the chance. He secretly hoped we'd break up because, in his words, "You deserve someone who only wants you and completely." He said he likes me a lot, sees a future with me, and wants also to just date each other for now. We're not rushing into exclusivity, but we've both agreed not to see other people and see how this naturally unfolds. ETA, I just ended a long-term relationship, and even though it wasn't healthy toward the end, I still loved him. Letting go has been painful. I'm still grieving what we had and need to give myself space to feel all of it. I really like the new guy and I'm happy with where things are going, but I'm not in a rush to label things right now. I need time to process, heal, and just be for a bit instead of committing right away. So, even though I'm mourning the loss of my first relationship that meant the world to me for a long time, I feel hopeful. I feel like I'm stepping into something new, something healthy, something that only involves just two people lol. Thank you all again for helping me find clarity in a really confusing time. TLDR, he gave me an ultimatum, I chose to end it. Now I'm dating and getting to know the other guy. Stories number 32. A man threw my daughter on the ground at Disneyland. Hello, I was in California Adventure yesterday with my daughter was sitting down at a table while my wife and I were getting food. Apparently she stood up for a moment because she dropped the phone and an adult man ran and sat at the table and told her he had it first. She panicked and ran over to us. I went over and told him we had the table and he said he was there first. I told my daughter to sit down and he yelled he was there first and grabbed my daughter by the arm and threw her to the ground, then began to spout some crazy nonsense. I picked my daughter up and told a worker who had security there in moments. She has a sizable abrasion on her arm and she bumped her head. Disney told me they would follow up with their legal team, but I haven't heard anything. They gave us free tickets and moved us to the Pixar Pier Hotel, but my daughter doesn't want to go to the park. Has anyone ever dealt with this? I know it's not Disney's fault, but they just escorted the man out of the park. I talked to the police, but it was just a report. I feel like this is the extent of what's going to happen. I'm a 5 feet 5 inches woman, I'm not going to fight a man in the middle of a theme park. Stories number 33. Husband got a job offer that would require us to move. So my husband lost his job about a month ago, he has a new offer for a better job an hour and a half away, so we'd have to move. The problem is that he can't drive, so I would have to take him to work. It would be 6 hours a day in the car till our lease is up, which is insanity. I don't mind it, but he's worried about how hard it would be on our old car. We have 4 months left on our lease, and while taking the job would be amazing, it's double what he was making, we can't figure out how to feasibly get him up there and started. I don't even know where to begin on logistics. We're flat broke too, so breaking the lease early or having 2 apartments worth of rent fees just isn't doable. Kind of in need of brainstorming, cause I feel both stuck and like there's things that we aren't thinking of. Edit, totally left out that we have a 6-year-old. School would also be an issue for him. Edit 2, husband can't drive y'all. Like, medically. Just pretend the guy has no legs. Edit 3, thank you guys for all the amazing advice. Here's the rundown of y'all's suggestions so far. Working remotely is a no-go, unfortunately, we just checked. Public transportation is also a no-go, because it would have to pass through Houston and it just doesn't connect like that between our town and where we're wanting to move. A private driver is not an option cause I have $13 lol. The renting a room option might be viable and I'm going to check into that. Final edit, looks like it's just not gonna be doable guys, thanks so much for taking the time to help out. I appreciate the absolute onslaught of suggesting that he rent a room or Airbnb, but I looked into it, and the cost would actually be higher than our rent. If that kind of money were accessible, we would just start the rental process on a new apartment and pay both rents till our lease was up. It was a fabulous idea in theory though. Final edit. He's taking the job. We are able to break our lease early, and qualified for a pretty good loan. We'll be able to move within a month. I also found out that the place I work at has a location in our new town, so I won't lose the job I love either. You guys gave me some insanely good advice, helpful words, and lots of grounding. I truly appreciate it. On to better things. Stories number 34. Aita for yelling at a little girl and making her cry at a museum. I, 29M, went to an art museum this weekend with my boyfriend, 30M. I'm a pretty big fan of Impressionist art, and I was excited to see a Monet exhibit they had on display. This museum is fairly quiet and has signs everywhere asking people not to touch the art or get too close to the paintings. Even in some exhibits, they had something like this but with some kind of alarm or sensor so you wouldn't get too close. While we were in one of the smaller galleries, a family came in with a little girl, maybe 6 or 7. At first, she was just walking around like everyone else. Then she ran right up to a painting and actually put her hand on the canvas. I was shocked. Her parents were barely paying attention, and there were no staff around. I instinctively shouted, "Hey! Don't touch that." Not like a blood-curdling scream, but definitely loud and sharp. She jumped back and started crying immediately. Her mom came over and started scolding me, saying I had no right to yell at her child and that I should have let the staff handle it. I said the staff wasn't there, and her daughter was literally about to damage a piece of art worth millions. My boyfriend said I maybe should have kept it more calm, but also agreed the parents were being irresponsible. We ended up leaving early because it got tense and awkward. But now I'm wondering. Aita for yelling. Stories number 35. Aita for asking my mom's husband to stop calling me his soul daughter and telling him my dad was meant to be my dad, not him. My dad died when I, 16F, was 6. 2 years later my mom met Jeremy, and the two of them fell hard and fast for each other. They've become very spiritual together, and they talk about how they were always meant to be together and find each other, how their hearts are one and they're each other's true love and soulmate. My mom has said Jeremy was always supposed to be her happily ever after. Jeremy feels the same about mom, but he doesn't just see mom that way. He sees me as his soul daughter, and he calls me that frequently. He said he knows it's crazy, but he feels as though he was always meant to be my dad. He talks about how Mother Earth gave him not only a wife but a child as well, and how he's so glad the universe saw him worthy to be a dad. It has always bothered me. I know they're happy. I know my mom sees my dad as nothing more than a stepping stone to Jeremy. As a way for the two of them to raise a child together. But I have never seen it that way, and I have never been close to Jeremy, which is something that has upset them. Especially when I pushed Jeremy out of parenting stuff. Because I do that all the time. If I'm asked to speak to my parents about something, I always make a point of telling mom I need to talk to her, and while she and Jeremy try to insist I should talk to them both, I don't allow it. That's when Jeremy and my mom really focus on the meant to be part of everything, and it makes me so uncomfortable. But in the past, when I expressed that they weren't paying enough attention to really hear me. Usually they're so caught up in these beliefs. I was 12 when they got married officially, but they called each other husband and wife before then. The wedding was a mess, and I know that's when they started thinking about all of us needing therapy. Because they felt their day was ruined by my refusal to participate in the wedding. They had this whole thing planned where they were going to use earth to express their love for each other, and then plant a family garden where we each plant ourselves into that earth and express how we were a soul family or whatever they were talking about. I didn't plant a thing and I said nothing. It did hurt my mom, but it hurt Jeremy more, and she told me that. She said he believed so strongly that I was meant to be his daughter, and my outright rejection was difficult when he knew I loved her at least. We officially started therapy a month ago. It was a long time coming, but they wanted to find a spiritual nature-based therapist who understood their beliefs. They and the therapist spent the first session talking about the beliefs they share. Then it moved on to the problems they have with me not embracing Jeremy or the family we have. Our second last session I got to speak, and I said exactly how much I hate Jeremy calling me his soul daughter and saying we were meant to be father and daughter. I said how much it sucks to realize mom only sees my dad as a stepping stone to her true love without any consideration for me, the child she had with my dad. And I hammered home the point that I am dad's daughter. He was and always will be my dad, not Jeremy. That they can wish it away all they like, but it won't work. And I won't forget dad or act like he was some discardable part of the story they want to tell. The therapist asked me what it would take for me to accept Jeremy, and I said I won't ever accept him like they want. But if he'd like to be someone I care for someday, then he needs to stop calling me his soul daughter, and he needs to accept I was meant to be dad's daughter, not his, and stop saying otherwise. The last session we had was them talking about how they felt about what I said. And basically mom said I was shitting on their beliefs, and Jeremy said he feels so hurt that I won't embrace the soul daughter stuff and look at it as a bad thing. He said he's never had someone twist loving actions to make them negative like I did. Then the therapist asked me if that's what I wanted. I said I wanted them to finally understand how I feel and to listen to what I have been saying for years. I said if that hurts their feelings, then I could live with it. All three told me I had chosen to speak in a very hateful way, and I didn't need to disrespect their beliefs like I did. Stories number 36. Aita for telling my wife she makes childcare harder than it needs to be. So, my wife works 8 to 5 4 days a week with the occasional extra Friday half day. I technically work 7 to 5, but I don't actually have to be there at 7, so I usually would do mornings with our kids. They're old enough to do it by themselves, but I just like to be there in the morning, then drive them to school and then go to work. That's a thing of the past now, I guess, because she started doing mornings out of the blue. Then she took it upon herself to start picking them up from activities, even though I used to do that as I work closer to the school. I ask her about the change, and she says she feels like a bad mom for not doing things I used to do, even though I can tell it's been making her more exhausted. We were talking about it a couple days ago, and I told her she making her life like 10x harder than it needs to be. By talking, we were kind of arguing, but I guess after that last line she wasn't feeling any discussion. She was mad at me for a bit after that. Aita wasn't trying to make it too long, so if there's more info needed I'll answer. Stories number 37. Aita going for divorce after my brother went down on my husband. I am 28F Nia and was married to my husband Ethan 28M for past 3 years. I have a brother Ryan 25M and he is gay. Especially the homophobia he faced in our society, I and my family have always stood for him. We are not Americans and these are fake names. My brother and husband go out often and I never doubted them. There was huge scandal in area from LGBT party, where some videos went viral of guys making out, sucking etc. The person who made them has been caught. But videos have spread out everywhere all over the internet. One video included my brother giving BJ to my husband and both looked drunk. They told me they were going for normal drinks that day. It has been humiliating and everyone knows about it. I have filed for divorce and my husband and brother are saying it was a drunk mistake. My husband even said you don't give BJ. So it was just something he tried with my brother. And it was one-time mistake. My brother has been tagging me as homophobic. But my parents support me and cut him off. Though they are getting support from many neutrals and I have been labeled homophobic for such a small incident, I don't think I am. Or am I? Or I failed as wife to satisfy my husband. Which is what some people have told me. Oral sex is something I never liked nor I asked him ever to go down on me either. My brother has broken my trust and I used to help him hooking up with guys by giving him room in my place, so he could have safe sex. I lost people because I loved my brother and left many people for him. Edit. The sarcastic comments down there. If you think it is fake, go fuck off. Don't bother if you don't have good advice to give. Assholes. Also their reasoning is that it is cheating if my husband had other women. It isn't cheating in their opinion. Stories number 38. I can't help but think anyone over the age of 30 who takes the Bible seriously and makes it the foundation of their life is weak-minded. By the time you reach 30 years old, if you haven't figured out the Bible is full of shit and you still base your life around it, you are absolutely a weak-minded person. The Bible is literally just some anonymous people living in the desert thousands of years ago saying crazy shit about how the world works and how people should act. It's easy when you are young to look at the Bible as some powerful thing, but if you spend a moment to think about it, it's just some people saying shit. It doesn't make you a bad person and it doesn't necessarily make you stupid, but if you aren't able to free your mind from a belief so absurd by the age of 30, what else do you call someone? Stories number 39. Aita for ruining my cousins' lives after they bullied me my whole life. I come from a small family, me, my parents, my paternal grandmother, my maternal aunt, her husband, and my 2 cousins. This situation just pertains to my cousins, as a lot of drama has been centered around them given the events I've caused. My cousins have spent the past 2.5 decades making my life hell, and I finally thought I got revenge. But I think I went too far. For cultural and familial context, I come from a highly traditional family. The kind of family that still does arranged marriages with dowries and looks down on premarital relations. My grandparents were arranged, as were my aunt and mother. Another bit of information, I am the product of unconsented sex, you know what I mean. My mom told me not long after I turned 7 since she knew my aunt and cousins could use it against me. And she was right. And me being unfazed and unhurt by my cousins' taunts made them turn most of our community against me. I had people throw things at me, I was a social pariah, just known as the R-word baby or other nicknames that are too vulgar to type here. People pitted my dad, since he was being forced to raise me, which was very untrue. My dad loves me to bits. My maternal grandparents were the cause of a lot of stress. My grandmother heavily favored my aunt and cousins, often brushing my mom and I to the side. We were left out of family holidays and not invited on family trips. When my grandmother passed, my mom and I got a combined few thousand, while my grandfather got most of her estate and my aunt and cousin received assets worth a solid 100,000 combined. My cousins, in all their bratty glory, bragged and said, inheritance is for family only. Though, by that point in time, I had just learned to ignore them. I got scholarships to pay for college and scraped by doing campus jobs. I graduated a few years ago and was bouncing between jobs when I got a call from my grandfather wanting a meeting. The meeting, held the following week, revealed that my aunt was actually not my grandfather's biological child. Turns out, my grandmother had gotten pregnant from a coworker not long before her marriage to my grandfather was arranged. This meant that my aunt and cousins would only receive the rest of my mom's estate, assets, and properties once he died, not any of his. This got my cousins mad, who defended their mom and said that DNA didn't mean anything. I piped up and reiterated what they had said all those years ago, and that since they didn't share grandfather's blood, they aren't entitled to his inheritance. I think my aunt was just in shock, since she just got up and walked away. My cousins tried to fight my grandfather, but he was ironclad in his decision. When they left, my grandfather gave me and my mom each a check for emotional damages. I bought a huge plot of land with that money with the plan to build my dream house once I got my full inheritance. 7 months ago, my grandfather passed away, and I got my full inheritance after 4 months. It was a life-changing amount of money. I paid off my minimal debts and car, set aside a sizable amount for investing, and upgraded my inherited properties to rent out. The income one make from renting, along with my investments, have allowed me to go part-time at work, which helped me make more time for my old hobbies. Construction of my house has started recently, and some people that once knew my cousins found out I came into money. They started messaging me, asking how I've been and what I'm up to. It gave me flashbacks, all the bullying and torment, and they had the nerve to be friendly to me. One of our old classmates was blunt and simply asked how I was able to afford doing all this, and I figured since my cousins had to out me as a R-word baby, then I shouldn't hold back in outing them. So, I told the classmate the full truth: my aunt was a bastard child, my cousins are illegitimate to my grandfather's family, and that my mom and I were his only true heirs. It didn't even take 48 hours before my phone was being blasted by my cousins, who said I ruined their lives since nobody wants to talk to them now. I simply replied, "Sucks being on the other end of the stick, huh," before blocking them. I have been in therapy since I got out of college, healing from how I was treated my whole childhood and teenage years. I was satisfied that they now knew just a smidge of my pain, but then my own mom texted me, saying that it was too far to implode their social lives. I figured I was just returning their actions, revenge, and some might say karma. But, the fact my own mom, the same one everyone shunned, is saying I went too far is making me second-guess myself. Aita for ruining my cousins' lives after they bullies me for years. Stories number 40. Aita for asking my girlfriend to stop putting castor oil and hair products in her hair right before bed. I, 28M, have been with my girlfriend, 28F, for a little over a year. Things are great between us overall, she's smart, funny, kind, and we live together. But there's one issue that's been really bothering me. She has a pretty involved hair care routine, which includes putting castor oil and other hair products in her hair at night, right before getting into bed. Her hair is wet, oily, and heavy with product, and she'll just lie down next to me like that. I really don't like how it feels, it's sticky and uncomfortable when we're close. The smell of the castor oil is strong, and I don't love it. On top of that, it stains the sheets and sometimes my clothes if her hair touches them. It's not a one-time thing, this is a nightly habit. I brought it up gently a few weeks ago. I told her I totally get that her hair routine matters, but that maybe she could do it earlier in the evening, or wrap her hair before bed so it doesn't get everywhere. She didn't get mad, but she also hasn't changed anything. It's like it went in one ear and out the other. I'm starting to feel like I'm being inconsiderate by even bringing it up. I know hair care, especially for certain hair types, is a big deal, and I don't want to be the guy who's asking her to compromise on that. But at the same time, I'm genuinely uncomfortable and it's starting to affect how I feel in our shared space. So, am I the asshole? Stories number 41. I offered to help my cousin with $400 when she asked for help but she talked down of it. My cousin messaged me out on WhatsApp asking for $1,000. I was super busy that day and didn't get around to reading it until the next day. When I finally opened it, I asked her what she needed the money for. She hit me with, "Do you have to know what I need it for before you help me?" Yes, I do. She eventually said it was for personal stuff. I told her the best I could do was $400 by next week. She replies, "Not even 80% of the money. Why not today or tomorrow? Is that why you ignored my message since yesterday?" I was honestly shocked. I told her if she can't appreciate the help I'm offering, then she should find another way to sort herself out. Stories number 43. My F18 boyfriend, M18, is refusing to use protection. I'm building resentment over it. How do I bring it up? My boyfriend and I typically go raw, and I had no problem with it originally because it felt better for me too. But we agreed that once I started university we would start using condoms to avoid the stress and anxiety I feel regarding pregnancy scares. He was completely on board with it, saying the pregnancy scares weigh on his mind too and that he would do anything to make me comfortable. I've gotten a positive before with a different partner and had to go through the whole abortion process by myself. I also have clinical anxiety and PCOS, so when my period is late, which it often is, I start freaking out and I lose sleep and can't enjoy life until I get it again. The problem is that now university has started, I've suggested putting a condom on. I didn't outright say, "Go put a condom on," I asked him if we should, i.e., should we use a condom? And he always gives me the same, "It feels better when it's not on though," or, my pull-out game is strong. I try and convince him by saying, "If we use a condom you can finish inside." And he just says, "Yeah, but up until then I can't feel anything, come on, trust me." This is the second month of this, and my period is late again, and I'm so racked with nerves that I'm unable to do my assignments without feeling the need to burst out crying. I have my mid-semesters coming up and I can't study. It's the second month it's been late and I know that I shouldn't be so mad for just the second scare since university started, but it's been the sixth one in our relationship. It's eating away at me. We have sex a lot, so it's not even that we barely go raw. I love doing it with him, but it's like every time we go at it, it has to be raw. I don't want this to change our sex life. I don't want him to suddenly get defensive and stop engaging. I'm just not sure what to say, and how to word it nicely so that he doesn't get offended and pull away. What do I say to him? I feel like it's important to say that I do always bring condoms. I bought them myself and I bring them out before anything happens. He just acts like because it hasn't happened with him it never will. I know I don't have much self-respect, I have BOD, and it's not an excuse, but quite recently my brother and father cut me off, and my boyfriend and his family are the closest things I have to support in life. He has anger issues and we just came out of a bad patch, where he was treating me bad on purpose because he wanted to get justice for me being jealous and controlling. Telling him he couldn't go on midnight walks one-on-one with girls and getting upset he would entertain girls who all his friends told me had a crush on him. When she found out about us she expressed obvious dislike for me. Edit. I'm not really sure what I said that made it sound like I was using abortion as birth control, but that's not my mindset at all. To me condoms are cheaper than Plan B, which is what I was buying continuously throughout and even present to the relationship. I'm trying to save up for the implant rod and I have discussed with him that it's what I want. But I'm not quite there yet financially. More than anything I was looking for a quick solution in the meantime, that will help make the time until I get the rod less stressful. The abortion was a one-time thing that I hated. I tried OD twice before and after because of how much I resented the situation. The ex I had the positive with, I was on the pill and used a condom, but it broke and the pill was somehow ineffective. I do have STD tests done semi-frequently. I really do not want to resort to an abortion again. It's not like once it's over I just sit and roll the dice. I take the Plan B, I get a pregnancy test, but it's those things that are also draining my funds and stopping me from saving for an implant. I will not let myself have a kid as I know I'm not responsible enough. I know after the Plan B I should feel less anxious, but the box says 97% effective and I'm constantly worried I might be the 3%. Stories number 43. Aita for refusing to take my husband off life support because I want to be sure. I, F29, have been married to my husband, M32, for almost 6 years. We've been through a lot together. He's my best friend, my everything. About 3 weeks ago, he was in a horrible motorcycle accident. No helmet, T-boned by a truck. ICU ever since. The doctors say it's unlikely he'll wake up. Brain activity is low, minimal response, ventilator dependent. 2 neurologists have already told me this is probably it. His parents are devastated and they keep saying he wouldn't want to live like this. I know he's talked about not wanting to be a burden if something like this ever happened. Here's the thing, I don't feel ready. I still talk to him. I swear sometimes I feel him squeeze my hand, even if the doctors say it's just nerves. I've been sleeping in the hospital chair. I play him our songs, tell him stories. I've begged him to wake up. His parents are now pushing hard to pull the plug. Saying I'm being cruel by dragging this out. That I'm keeping him alive for me, not for him. His mom even said I'm being emotionally selfish. I told them no, I need more time. That maybe there's some chance, 1% is still a chance. I'm not ready to say goodbye and feel like I'll never forgive myself if I make the wrong decision too soon. They've now started the process of getting legal counsel to try to override me. His mom told me I'm just trying to play grieving widow, and it broke me. I am grieving, but I'm also hoping. My sister says she gets it, but some friends are telling me I need to accept reality and let him go with dignity. So, Aita for refusing to take him off life support yet. Stories number 44. Aita for refusing to contact my father after he sold my dog. My dog was really important to me. He was my unofficial emotional support animal after my mother died of cancer. Sometimes, I would spend ages crying, and he helped me through that trauma. After my mother died, my father changed. He started drinking more beer and gambling. After that, he got laid off due to not showing up to work. After he got fired, he stopped drinking, or so he claimed, and started looking for new jobs. Since he was still a man of his word, I trusted him when he said he got a new, higher paying one. But one day, when I got home from school, my dog was nowhere to be found. I printed out several missing posters and made some calls to the local shelter, trusting that people would find him soon. My community was quite efficient when it came to finding missing pets, after all. Then, my father went home and told me he ripped out all my posters. Turns out, he sold my dog, my emotional support animal who helped me mourn, who I always relied on. He did not find a job, and all these hours he spent searching for a job was actually him gambling for money. He did end up finding a job though. I was heartbroken. I was 14 at the time, so I couldn't do anything, but after I got into college, I moved into my own apartment and cut all my ties with him, because who would live with that monster? Recently he told my aunt that I moved out and wouldn't contact him. He did not provide any additional context about how he sold my dog, so when my aunt messaged me, she called me ungrateful. My aunt was someone I relied on, since she was my mother's sister and understood my grief. So yeah, that stung a lot. When I told her why I cut off contact, she just dismissed it. She said I needed to deal with it. Why? Why should I deal with it when my dog, who always listened as I weep, who comforted me when I was down, got sold like some plaything that someone got tired of? Aita here. I don't think I am, but I want to be sure. Stories number 45. Aita for not taking my longtime friend's side in his argument with his girlfriend. My friend and I are both 21 and we've been friends since we were 14. He has been seeing his current girlfriend, 20, for roughly 3 months. Just because of her last name and her appearance accent, I think everyone just kind of assumed she was Hispanic. The other day we were talking about our families, and she brought up that her dad is Mexican and her mom is black. My friend got upset with her for not telling him this when they first started going out and said she was hiding the fact that she's half black. She seemed really upset, hurt, and left. I told him that I thought he was being a dumbass, that she probably just thought it wouldn't matter to him. I told him that he should apologize. He doesn't want to see her anymore and said that I was taking her side and is demanding that I apologize to him. In the past, we've always called each other out, and regularly use insults like dumbass, when we thought the other person was doing something stupid, and it's never been a problem before, but now he's upset because thinks that I'm being disloyal to him. I never met his girlfriend until he started dating her and still don't know her very well, so it's probably more accurate to say that we're just acquaintances as opposed to friends. Stories number 46. I was called stingy for offering a free shop to a friend. So a friend of mine reached out to me recently, saying she was going through financial difficulties. She told me she had spent all her savings on hospital bills while taking care of her sick husband, who thankfully has recovered. Now her shop rent is due, and she can't afford to renew it. Her shop is literally right across from mine. She sells vegetables, I sell frozen foods. I told her, hey, I have a small space next to my shop where I used to sell veggies before, it's not in use right now. You're welcome to stay there rent-free for at least a year, until you're back on your feet. Her response: wow, you're being very stingy. Why didn't you just offer to pay for my shop rent instead of dumping me in your space? I was honestly shocked. I offered her a free space to continue her business for a whole year, and instead of gratitude, I get attitude because I didn't pay her rent. Stories number 47. Aita for not liking it when my 14F dad, 58M, touches my butt. My dad was a weird obsession with touching my butt. He likes to grab and slap my butt often. It started when my mom had a nervous breakdown at the very beginning of COVID, but he's been making sexual comments about me since I started puberty, around 7 years old. One time, he pinned me against the kitchen counter and slapped my butt hard. He only stopped because I started crying. This happened in January. I've blocked out most of what happened because I feel disgusting every time I think about it. I have set the boundary of not touching my butt, and, for the most part, he is listening. He still tries to touch me sometimes, but I can deter him very easily, which I used to not be able to do. He is also making fun of me for setting boundaries. He is making me feel insane. He keeps saying it's not that big of a deal, and that he can do whatever he wants to me because he made me. I'm so confused. Is this a form of SA or abuse? Am I overreacting? Should I let him touch my butt? Update: thank you all so much for the support and validation. I really thought this was normal, but now I know it isn't. I will be going to my school counselor on Monday, and I will talk to my friend about it, potentially staying with her if necessary. Thank you again. Update 2. Two of my older siblings are going to talk to my dad on Monday, and I'm going to talk to my school counselor on Tuesday. My friend has also said that I can come over anytime even if her parents aren't aware I'm coming over.